Knights are always important. They are the Imperial sword, absolutely loyal to their country. However, this is only in novels. In reality, knights did not mean anything. They only did what they had fun. There was no end to those who stretched their honest hands to power. The title was always used only for profit. It could not be otherwise. The title was also reduced to a position in words, nothing more, because everyone had their own color, for example, silver, and Sigrid Ankertna is a silver knight. Many were inferior to her, the girl who could boast of her privileges on par with the highest officials. The blonde is none other than a master of her craft. She became the first female master. The emperor took notice of her and appointed her as his personal knight. She swore to be the most faithful. Those were dark times. There was no mercy for those who did not obey the laws of the country and the will of the ruler of the country. Sigrid fulfilled all the wishes of her master. The girl never understood what she was doing. She would do anything, even if it meant killing innocent people. Among the other knights, Ankertna stood as an example of someone no one could understand, and among the common people, she was a disgrace. It is difficult to fully understand a person who behaves in a detached manner. Many considered the maiden too correct. Many despised her because of her devotion to the emperor. Sigrid never paid attention to others. She had one goal: to be the second hand for the master. It was a great honor and joy for her to be subordinate. She believed in this until her very end. One day, it all ended, because a suitable knight exists solely thanks to the will of the royal family, and the woman was sentenced to death as a criminal. When the girl knelt before the people, she sincerely did not understand why she was accused of treason against the empire. She knew that she could not be punished by death. There was no way out. The heroine gradually began to accept her fate. A moment and the blade of the guillotine falls. A sharp pain pierced the body. The girl opens her eyes in a completely different place. Sitting up in bed, the heroine grabs her neck, making sure it is intact. She looks at the door. The floor is old and creaky. The house looks like the one in which she previously lived, but maybe this is the afterlife. Leaving the room, the blonde looks around the streets. She begins to understand more and more that she is in reality. The streets are too familiar. There is no doubt about it. Even the alley she finds herself in, the space outside, everything is strikingly similar. And the thought of the other world flashes through her head again. Because what if it is identical? And this is all an illusion. Shouts are heard behind her. A flashlight shines in her face. Because guards have appeared nearby, they are interested in what the lady is doing on the street during curfew. It is prohibited. Without asking her opinion, the men grab Sigrid and lead her to the captain, who looks her over with bulging eyes. The girl had never broken the established rules before. I wonder if the captain is also dead or not. But the man is afraid of the question. Talking about something so strange is disgusting. But the blonde doesn't stop. She also came from the other world. The woman continued to tell what had happened to her. She explains that she was beheaded not long ago. The captain's face twisted. He doesn't know what to answer. Perhaps the girl simply had a strange dream. There is no other way to explain it. She is confused. Everything seemed real. She even remembers the feeling of being beheaded. They ask Ankertna if everything is okay, but she can only remain silent. She is definitely not drunk, because she was so proper that she would never have allowed herself to do something like that. The surprised eyes speak for themselves. The captain declares that nothing could have happened for anyone else, namely the best knight, to lose her head. His thoughts are completely confused inside. He wants to understand what he should be thinking about. The sense of reality is hopelessly leaking away. The man assumes that the lady was deceived by a wizard. The knights are told to find Maurice, and the blonde immediately asks a question. It's strange that they want to call a man, because he's not in the capital. He left on his journey not long ago. The gentleman raises an eyebrow. They are two partners. They are always together. The puzzle is gradually coming together since they work together. 5 years have passed, which means Sigrid is not in the other world. The past flashes before her eyes. When the heroine was thrown into prison, a young man came to her. He said that no one believed in her betrayal and begged her to try to escape before the execution was scheduled. The guy didn't want the blonde to tell him that this wasn't how a knight should act. He sincerely wanted to help her escape. You can't just die forgetting about your future. A strange feeling arises in my soul when I remember Maurice de Forest. He was the only one who believed in his partner's innocence until the very end. But despite his faith, the lady was still executed. A door slams, and a man comes in to ask if he was really called to punish another person. Sigrid couldn't have broken the curfew. The young man advises her to come up with something more original next time, but suddenly freezes, seeing his partner in front of him, smiling nervously. He asks her why she can't sleep at such a time. Rushing forward, the woman peers closely into his face, as if trying to find something, and sure enough, there is no scar on his forehead, although it used to be there. Wrapping his arms around the lady's shoulders, the brunette asks if his friend is okay. He thought the guards were joking, but the heroine asks Maurice's age directly. He's about to turn 25. Quickly adding up the numbers in her head, the girl realizes that she is 20, which means she has gone back 5 years. Without warning anyone, the girl lifts her shirt, as if trying to find something. There is no scar on the body, it should be located below the waist, and it appeared as a result of the battle with Veramud. It was a serious injury, it was not easy at all. Maurice asks to calm down first. The idea comes to his mind that the beauty crossed paths with some magician or witch, or she ate something strange and then got poisoned. Brushing it off, the heroine apologizes for causing him to worry, all because she had a real dream. Forrest doesn't quite believe that the knight was never brought down by a nightmare. It's impossible to stay in the captain's office forever, so the brunette offers to stay the night at his house. Initially, Sigrid was caught for lack of identification. At such a late hour, the hero will have to accompany his friend back, which is not very good, forcing the guards to work again. The precarious state is affecting, and he cannot be left alone. The heroine nods. She agrees that one cannot use public power for one's own purposes, in which case they both go to the estate where Forrest lives. The house belongs to the company, but still, the place where the writer's second son lives is completely different. The girl is shown the guest room. It's time to have a good rest and not think about anything. Before entering, the girl apologizes for bothering Forrest. It's so late, and for such a trivial matter, the young man should also rest. There's still time to sleep. Memories flood her head again. Even when everyone the heroine trusted tried to kill her, Maurice believed until the very end. Reality is the real world, without a doubt. She was beheaded. It was still unclear how the return to 5 years ago could have happened. Little was remembered from the past because there were countless desires that had to be suppressed, and the life of a knight full of only the right actions. Forrest, who enjoyed everything he had as a matter of course, the woman desperately tried to be part of the nobles who were almost completely different from her. In the end, she chose the only right path, dedicating her life to knightly service. She thought that one day everyone would accept her, but in return, she received nothing. Trusting the emperor, the lady made a mistake. After all, even the oricum core was taken out. The lady was not the one who came for it. Usually, when she focused on her fingertips, a golden light appeared in front. Repeating the movement, the lady is surprised, because a glow really does appear around her. It does not last long, because there is no core, but the girl can use oro. It is wonderful. If reality were a dream, the beauty would not be able to reproduce what she had learned earlier. Returning in time with memories could lead to something. The thought of a sorcerer comes to mind. A magician could shed some light on the situation. For example, a person like the great wizard of the Imperial Palace, Arcana. The man will become famous only in 3 years, however. Wizards remain wizards. You need to figure out what to do when you manage to find him. You would like to change the course of your life, not meet a miserable end. In the morning, the lady quickly got up and got ready to go out. She didn't know that a maid was walking down the corridor, that she had to wash the floors in the living room, and in her hands, she was carrying a bucket of water. The woman suddenly opens the door and accidentally pushes the maid. Almost immediately, she sincerely apologizes. The brunette nods. She didn't think she would experience an apology. The knight turns to leave. She has already lingered, which is unacceptable. Maurice will later be informed that the beauty is leaving. Before, the lady did not want to be called lady, but from now on, she does not care. The knight decided to change to make her life much better. The lady is obliged to do only the best things and not say anything strange. Soon, the girl found herself at the second order. She asks for forgiveness, And if a delay is needed in the future, she will definitely ask for it. In her past life, the blonde worked in the royal guard before returning. Too much time had passed since she was in the order. Maurice looked the same as he did 5 years ago, which means there is a chance that everyone except Sigrid herself remained exactly the same. Nothing in them changed. A glimmer of hope flickers in her heart, and then she hears a familiar voice that she hasn't heard for so long. A young man with blue eyes, smiling and asking if the lady is tired of constantly wearing heavy armor. 5 years ago, Alcerto was still alive. Sigrid understands that she is pleased to see someone who seemed to have been dead for a long time. They can talk. The boy tries to find out what happened to the knight. She behaves strangely. According to her, it's nothing to worry about. There's a rest ahead. Because she went and took a short vacation. Jumping back as if stung by a bee, he asks a surprised question. Previously, the blonde always worked, constantly waiting for an emergency call from the knight. But now, she wanted to put her thoughts in order. There are no suitable words to describe it. The heroine hasn't become a different person, she's just noticeably changed. He hasn't seen the girl take a day off since her injury. Brushing it off, the girl continues to surprise him, saying that she is proud. Alcerto no longer believes in the reality of what is happening, and Ciri laughs. She likes to watch such a reaction. The beauty just wanted to say what she really felt. She had always envied her acquaintance, since she herself was a commoner. Her envy came from the fact that she had a narrow view of everything. The one who got along with everyone around him and at the same time maintained communication was incredibly annoying. He was a constant irritant. Quite by chance, after everything that had happened, the maiden realized that the only one who spoke to her without a drop of contempt was Alcerto. The blonde never paid attention to this. The knight always started a conversation with her first. He is not like everyone else. Telling the truth will sound ridiculous, but I am grateful to you. After all that has been said, Sigrid is about to leave. At the last moment, someone grabs her hand and stops her. The girl cannot spill all this information and just run away. The young man also finds something he wants to admit. He too was envious. Being frivolous by nature, he could not be an example of a disciplined defender of the country. This is where their conversation ends. It's definitely time for the girl to leave. She wanted to hear everything that was told to her, but certainly not from Alcerto. Maurice goes to work. Sigrid ran away without even having breakfast, although she always left early. So she is probably busy again. She has a lot to do. The young man was still sleepy, and suddenly someone brushed against him. It seemed like Sigrid ran past. For a second, it seemed like it was someone else, because the expression on her face was too different. Approaching Alcerto, his partner asks why he is so beaming, smiling as if he is a fool. The blue-eyed man saw his girlfriend, noticing that she has changed a little, and this is an understatement. It immediately comes to mind that the maiden broke the curfew that night only because she had a strange dream. What is happening makes one shake. The knight always followed all the rules. When Forrest learned that the lady had taken time off, he couldn't find the right words. The girl had to sort out her days because she didn't even know what people usually did on their days off. She had no plans. Still, there's no need to worry. There are 45 days of vacation ahead, so you'll still be able to come up with something interesting. A cracking sound comes from the bed. Something like that didn't happen at your friend's house because the furniture isn't that old. Looking back, the lady remembered the conditions in which she lived. The room looked cozy, but there were absolutely no clothes in the closet. Only one change of pants and a shirt. Funny. The image of Maurice's estate appears in my head again. He has a luxurious, cozy mansion, and since the girl lives in a terrible place, it is no different from her past life. Obviously, you should start with food, clothes. You need to change your life gradually. Soon, the heroine decides to go to District 2, the Marigold Estate. An ascetic life has helped her save up some money. The balance is large enough that there's no point in putting it off. Arcana asks to take a look at what's on sale. The heroine is asked if she plans to buy the estate herself. She explains that she is a knight of the Second Order, and her mind races with options. Perhaps something similar to Maurice's house would be suitable. What I want most is a house with a garden. Of course, it will be difficult to manage, but it will be pleasant to look at, as the house will look bright, and you can hold tea parties there. Deva had heard many times that people often get together and have tea parties. Although she told Mrs. Panina that social gatherings were useless, she could not hide her desire. The lady would like to attend the meeting and be in the company of ladies. However, the house with the garden looks expensive and this could hit her budget. The lady suggests considering some discounted estates. There is something inexpensive, and there is even a discount on it. The house is located in District 2, 14th arrondissement. From the outside, everything is not so bad. However, inside, there is an incredibly strong smell of blood. It becomes impossible to breathe. Initially, the woman immediately warned that a murder had occurred there. The house was still not cleaned, but the location was excellent. An incident had definitely occurred there. A lot of effort would have to be put into the transformation. The entire floor was covered in blood. The stains were spread everywhere. Even if this was the place where the incident occurred, it would not be easy to put the building up for sale after doing this. They didn't try to clean up the place inside, apparently thinking it was impossible. The second floor is in complete need of renovation, and strange sounds can be heard from behind. Entering one of the main rooms, the lady cringes from an unpleasant sensation, as if 1,000 needles were going under her skin. The cold energy feels disgusting. It seems that there is a ghost ahead, full of malice. A hand grabs a sword, but it is not drawn, because usually weapons do not help against spirits. In front of Sigrid, there is a man who, after killing a family member, immediately committed suicide. Warm energy begins to gather in the hand. Usually, ghosts are created from people's negative emotions, so they are easily cleansed. The knight is not strong in this because she does not yet have an orco, so this is ideal for practice. The woman steps forward and begins her task. The ghost makes strange sounds. It begins to evaporate. Soon, it becomes light inside. The room is transformed. One step forward, there is no strength left at all. Her vision is gradually fading. Her mind is clouded. The blonde loses consciousness and falls to the floor. After a while, she manages to get up. She went a bit overboard with the amount of energy. She should have been more careful and not used such a huge amount at once. Expectations were low. It seemed that all this would not be so tiring, and that time would be allocated for training after the estate was completely put in order. Thinking that she could negotiate a bigger discount, the beauty went to an agency and managed to sign a contract at a lower price than the market price. But this still entailed a large expense. The beauty looks at the keys. She has never spent such large sums on herself. Before she had to live in such a way as to spend minimally. Buying a house is an extravagance, like for a night. In her new life, she would not want to give in to her prejudices. Sigrid had already seen a death worthy of a defender of the country, which is why she would change her life. There is a feeling of loss inside. The lady has been holding back her desires so much all this time that she has forgotten what she truly needs. Only emptiness remains, which has become part of her mind. Walking down the street, a lady stops in front of a store. Apparently, they sell luxurious dresses there. A person who is completely ignorant of fashion cannot understand what neat and sophisticated clothing is. The knight almost always wears worn-out clothes. She doesn't want to buy something fancy like a fancy dress, but since she's decided to start with food, clothing, and shelter, she should at least try. Sometime later, the shopping is over. The lady barely leaves the store. After all, choosing new outfits is an impossible task. She hasn't even managed to step through the door before the consultants are all over her. The heroine was noticeably embarrassed because they immediately put an outfit on her. It was lucky that the manager appeared and asked them to leave the client alone and not embarrass her. The blonde calmly talked to the woman. Thanks to her, she managed to choose a good outfit. All that was left was to buy new capes and boots, the very thought of which made her feel sick. After all, it's extremely tedious when a person tries to change his life. The girl was so tired that immediately upon arriving home, she fell onto the bed. Surprisingly, it was very comfortable there. Both the boutique and the estate are unusual, and you'll have to change, even if it's through sheer force, to leave death no chance. Night is approaching, but already in the morning, the lady plans to clean the rooms. Everything needs to be sorted out before the cleaners arrive. There's a disagreement at the Marigold Real Estate Center. The cleaning crew refuses to go out and clean the property, but the woman can't do anything about it. The purchase was finalized, and they're obligated to clean for the future owner. And it is clear why they are trying to refuse, however. The knight asked not to worry about anything. Before, the atmosphere was so disgusting that it could be felt from a distance, unlike what it has become. The workers nevertheless agree, because even if the ghost appears and they cannot work, Marigold will still have to pay. She does not know if everything will be okay. She only hopes for the best. When the team arrived at their destination, they saw something strange. A bright light was coming from the house. A minute later, everything became quiet. The owner came out to greet them and asked them to work productively. One of the squad, the bravest one, asks if there was a murder there. The problem is solved. Although, after the cleansing, there is no strength left at all. The day is coming to an end. They will return in the first half of the next day. They are still very far from complete cleanliness, although half of the task is already completed, which cannot but please. While cleaning the living room, Sigrid caught herself feeling that life was changing too quickly, which was what she wanted, but in the past she had nothing of her own. The new place promised to be good. The image of His Majesty flashes before her eyes once again. How she was condemned to death. The knight was ready to sacrifice herself for her master. She was accused of treason. The same question remains in my head. Why did it end like this? Sigrid was told that the heir was killed and that she did it, while teaming up with the second prince, trying to usurp the throne. The woman was executed for the sake of the emperor, and as a result, because of the man, his first son died, and the second was also executed. There was no benefit from this, or there was only a hidden one. In any case, the heroine was nothing more than trash, who was quickly disposed of. Tears welling up in her eyes, she wanted to be noticed, not to know a terrible end. The efforts were useless, but since a second chance was given, the emperor no longer had power over the knight. She could become her own master and control her own life. Rushing to conclusions is completely pointless. It's better to rest while you still have time, because the chain of events will drag you on. It's worth stopping painful thoughts and finishing up with the house first. The days drag on, but with each passing day, the estate becomes cleaner. Soon, it will be completely ready, so maybe it's worth inviting someone. Maurice or Alberto will be the first guests. The girl is unpacking her things. Moving isn't so hard when your whole life fits into one suitcase, including the new clothes. There are very few things anyway, and since she has time, she can go shopping again. District 2 is usually the busiest. The guest is greeted at the door. She wants to buy something that matches her previous purchase. She just needs to find the perfect one. Ankertna sits down on the sofa, when suddenly a girl with bright pink hair approaches her mockingly. She smirks, as if a diligent knight had come to us. Mariset Inglid belongs to the second order, in which Sigrid serves, the blonde ignores. But it doesn't work, she has to answer. She needed clothes, something new. In provincial stores, prices are much lower than in city ones. She had already bought an outfit in a boutique, and since she still had some money left, it wouldn't hurt to choose something new. The pink-haired girl continues her attacks. She starts screaming. She doesn't think it's right that if she puts on a dress, Sigrid will also come and choose an identical thing. Previously, Ankertna considered it shameful for a knight to go shopping, but her opinion has changed. She apologizes. Mariset does not want to listen to nonsense and runs out into the street, loudly slamming the door. Standing in front of the mirror, the beauty carefully examines the outfit. It is not clear why it previously seemed vulgar to spend money on clothes. People around are talking about how everyone is incredibly rich, but not everyone understands where the knight's salaries even come from. Mariset and anyone else weren't dressed particularly flashily, they just spent everything they earned. Sigrid admits that it is nice to wear new clothes. After all, they are created for each person and are pleasant to the body. Ingold sits next to her friend, still extremely annoyed as she talks about the person she met in the boutique, the same Sigrid who thought knights were vulgar. Blue-Eyed remembers very well how they always disagreed. And besides, Ankertna apologized, although it sounded arrogant. The woman does not live by double standards. But despite everything, this is not what knights should do. A stupid thing was said, for which she is probably ashamed. People like Siri are ruining the squad's reputation. And besides, the blonde has been acting really weird lately. She took a long vacation and went shopping for clothes, and she likes someone. As a result, such girls usually end up with bad guys. Mariset doesn't feel sorry for them. The brunette understands her friend, but she definitely feels that the knight has changed recently, not because of love. Sitting on her plot, the heroine checks her strength. It is still not enough, but even with this amount, she can concentrate energy quite quickly. The idea comes to mind to bring my horse Eco, but no, he will remain on the Order's territory for now. They are checking the cabinets, one is already full, there is still one left. Buying something new turned out to be quite a pleasant experience. The lady hadn't visited the Order and the boys for a long time, and she doubted whether she could wear new clothes in front of them. Having made up her mind, the blonde went to check on her horse. She stroked his muzzle, but then she heard a cry. "What are you doing?" Maurice wants to explain that the animal has an owner, but as he approaches, he freezes in shock. Because it is Sigrid in front of him, and because of the image, he thought he was seeing a completely different person. It suits the beauty very well. She is renewed. People began to treat her differently. So it is unusual. No one sees the essence, because this is the first thing that others notice. Judging by the heroine's answers, one might think that she has become completely innocent, that she used to have a completely different point of view, and memories of how Maurice begged the girl to escape from execution come back to mind. The young man would never say anything that could harm his friend. She will always believe him, take advantage of all his advice, and use it. Taking her horse, the lady goes outside. She thanks him for seeing her off. Without losing the opportunity, he is invited to visit. Perhaps there will be a tea party in the garden. It's time to lay all your cards on the table. A new house in the 2nd district was recently purchased. The cleaning is already completely finished, and there's no need to send an official invitation. Reality is changing. The image of the girl has changed. In addition to all the changes, she also bought herself an estate. Ankertna says goodbye. Elkerto appears nearby and shouts that the horse was stolen. When he finds out that it was Siri, he can't even find any words. The brunette asks him about the weekend. They're going to visit a friend. The blue-eyed man is completely speechless. The girl bought a house, and it's so unlike her. The man freezes, shouts, and asks again to make sure. The young man does not understand what will happen next. The maiden frightens him from the very beginning. From the moment she took such a long leave, they both come to the conclusion that the lady is mortally ill. The heroine's actions are consistent with what is usually done when there is very little time left. She did not want to tell the truth only because she remains a brave knight to the last. Sitting in the garden, the beauty is meditating. Compared to the morning, it seems the oro is getting bigger. Her heart is starting to ache, which means the stone has finally appeared. The part of the core that has a solid form protrudes from the body, usually in several places. On the back of the hand, forehead, from under the tongue and neck. The core protrudes outward, which is also called the sword's jewel, because it shines like a precious stone, but common people call it orco. Initially, the thing is very small, like a dot, but the shape, subject to polishing, gradually becomes clearer and the color darker. In the past, the Virgin learned to use the stone at 23 years old. It is impossible for information to surface that she managed to master everything at 20. The beauty does not want to receive unnecessary attention under any circumstances. If this becomes known, the Imperial Guard will ask her to join the army. Every time Siri prepared for new exams, she took great pleasure in working with energy. But she couldn't do that. Otherwise, she would have to get close to the Emperor again. There is no desire to feel the terrible pain that the core will bring again. Everything will be fine until the beauty is caught. She is obliged to hide. A few days later, friends arrived to visit, and seeing the beautiful estate, doubts arose in their minds. Their friend could not live in such a place. The lady of the estate appears near the exit. She asks why the boys don't go inside. From trousers to boots, everything is new. Her clothes look wonderful. The woman is hosting her first tea party, so she knows little about it. She promises that as soon as she makes the tea, she will bring it right away. And in the meantime, they will go and sit down. It is difficult for Maurice not to notice that there is not a single servant. And the house is too big. He wonders who in this case does the work. Cleaning, cooking. Soon, Sigrid brings the tea that she spent a long time choosing. She is immediately asked how she copes with everything completely alone. Yes, everything is fine, even if it is burdensome. Alcerto was about to offer to pay for the servant's services, but the lady continues to refuse. She would only like an assistant, but does not know how to find one. Even among aristocrats, maids are hired by contract, only through acquaintances. For a commoner, this is almost impossible. Forrest is going to choose 2 people from his house and recommend them. Siri decides there's no point in refusing, so she nods. She could use at least 1 maid in the house. Directly, one of the friends asks why the beauty has changed so drastically. Bought new clothes, and not only, there is a reason behind this. I just thought that I don't want to die like this. The decision to change her life was not unexpected, although from the outside it looks that way. She herself feels uneasy about the change, a feeling as if everything that is happening is a dream. The heroine feels strange, it's true, because in front of her are 2 people whom she thought she would never see again. One went on a journey, the other died. It feels like they wanted to console the girl, because after all, they are thinking about how it will be better for her. Forrest notes that the weather is great, the wind is not strong. He wonders if there is a reason why they chose a house with a garden. Blue-eyed, he expected the girl to be so romantic. The blonde thanks them for coming to her. Lately, she has been the main topic of conversation among the knights. As soon as the guests left, the lady breathed a sigh of gratitude. Everything had gone perfectly. The tea and cake were delicious, and there was a feeling that she and her friends were becoming closer and closer. I would like to go somewhere else with them. For some reason, the image of Marisette comes up. She said earlier that she really hates the night. On the way back, there is silence in the carriage. Alberto asks his friend for his opinion. They are convinced that his friend is sick at such a young age. It is terrible. They need to find a way to help. The decision to discuss everything in the second order was made quickly. The guys consult with Marisette and her friend. Perhaps Siri is sick with a fatal disease. She is hiding something. The woman said that she didn't want to die so easily and that she had to change. It's not surprising that her behavior changed. She didn't say anything directly, but it's not hard to understand. Even if she hides it, she will still have to leave the order due to illness, Marie's friend smiles. Not long ago, she hated the night, but she has already managed to change her mind. The meeting itself went well, if you don't take into account the fact that they were the only guests there. Sigrid only prepared cake and tea, which were delicious, of course, but it wasn't enough. Judging by the way everything was happening, it was already clear that the girl knew absolutely nothing about cultural life. The brunette suggested sending an invitation so that she would understand. Marisette snorts. But still, they decided what the invitation would be. A few days later, the knight receives it, not immediately understanding who it came from. After reading, the lady recognized the sender as the Marquise Alsacidna. Rohengrin is an elegant and self-confident girl. She is the only one of the knights who showed favor. The 2 weren't close, more like they just said hello occasionally. It would be hard to refuse tea, but there was a chasm between them, 2 different worlds ready to finally meet. The woman doesn't know what she'll talk about with the beauty, certainly not about work. She wants to refuse, but it's worth a try. A lot of time has passed since their last conversation. Something clicks in her head. If the invitation to tea is important, she might have to wear a dress. And the blonde goes to the boutique to find a suitable outfit. As soon as the heroine expressed her desire to buy a dress, sales consultants gathered around her. They couldn't help but be interested in something like this. And the main character promises that everything will be in the best possible condition. There is no time for sewing, so the director asks to bring out the finished version. It is a bit bulky. I will have to ask the maid if she will help. As Maurice said, it's good to have someone who will do everything. Sigrid is going to a friend's estate. They need to talk in person. First of all, the girl thanks the young man, because thanks to his help, managing the house has become much easier. But now she needs a maid to hire her completely. The hero suggests hiring a cook as well, as he only has 8 people on his estate. The blonde doesn't understand. She's not against it, but it would be strange if she had nothing to do. Hiring a servant means living for 4 whole hours longer, and you can engage in physical training. An orc grows rapidly precisely because of diligent training. Taking care of your body is important. You should pay attention to your diet. The young man asks you to never give up. If the lady gets worse, he will bring his family doctor. There is nothing to worry about. Forrest is confident that he can help with anything. Her friend can always turn to him. For a moment, she thinks whether it is worth telling about the death in the past and about her stone. The thought quickly passed. Already on Tuesday, the girl arrived for tea. The greenhouse in the estate is incredible. There is a little excitement inside. The butler leads her forward. Ankurtna bows her head and thanks for the unexpected invitation. Mariset immediately leaves a caustic comment. Weren't you burdened by this greeting? They have a strained relationship. The blonde calmly suggests that they communicate normally right away. Ingle does not agree to this, but no one asks her anymore. Judging by the guest's appearance, it is quite difficult to see that she will soon die. The beauty is complimented on her dress. It suits her very well. The most interesting thing is that the beauty managed to buy it cheaper. Because someone had already refused it, the knight notes that the girl's clothes are also beautiful. Everything looks wonderful on Mariset. The heroine is embarrassed. She never expected something like this. She stutters and declares that everything is perfectly chosen, and her manners are also impeccable. Rovi laughs slightly. Soon, snacks appear on the table, all looking like works of art, and the tea smells luxurious. It's embarrassing to remember the past tea party. The sweets taste even better than they look. The conversation turns to the house that the knight bought, of course. It's big for her, but quite beautiful. Rovi assumes that the estate was expensive. One night's salary would not be enough. Shrugging her shoulders, the maiden, as if nothing had happened, declares, "There was a murder there. I bought it for next to nothing. It wasn't easy to clean up, but the ghost doesn't appear anymore. The beauty isn't going anywhere to rest." She didn't think about that. Only about home. Mariset can't take it anymore. She's screaming. Usually, everyone who takes such a long vacation plans a long trip. Her friend irritates her with her carelessness. The girl is asked what she will do. It is obvious that since she is free, she can go to the opera with the knights. She does not know anything, which means she will not be taught how to relax. Gratitude is heard. This is even more confusing. Usually, the blonde reacted very sharply, but suddenly she became so cute. Getting up from her seat, the beauty declares that she wants to apologize for the way she behaved earlier, and Rohengrin asks in surprise what made her change her mind. All the time, the heroine believed that a knight should be rude and collected. Recently, she had a moment when she rethought her whole life. The days passed by, and gradually, the heroine realized that she herself did not understand what she wanted from life. Her past words were offensive. She should never have used bad language. Rohengrin smiles. A knight doesn't just spend his money and live his life, but also talks about the meaning and changes his mind. If the lady hadn't changed, she would have died without meaning. The brunette promises that she will also help you unwind. She is not a fan of spending time having fun, but it will be fun. Sigrid spends her free time training with a sword, and she also enjoys choosing her own clothes. Although this task is a bit tiring and not easy. I wonder what it was like to live in the 3rd district. Security is bad there, it's noisy at night, and ordinary people live there, not aristocrats. Unpleasant memories flash before my eyes. The girl set fire to a building in that area, doing it without a shred of doubt. Mariset notices that the girl has suddenly turned pale. Maybe the rumors were true. Ankurtna tries to force herself to distract herself. Because everything is in the past, she will not do that again. A hand falls on the shoulder. The girl is sent back home. She does not look well. Rovi promises that they will chat next time. But for now, it is worth getting a good rest. The next morning, a carriage was sent for Siri. She never thought she would ever find herself in such an expensive carriage. There was a lot to do, and the first thing they did was go to the opera. After watching the play, the girls sat down to drink tea. The heroine doesn't know what she likes best, so she tries different types of coffee and tea. Mariset chooses things. When choosing, the main thing is that they look good on the night. Before finding something ideal, the heroine will make many more mistakes. Luckily, there's an expert advisor. Ingold will definitely help, so we'll be able to avoid any setbacks. We should spend the rest of our vacation together. The days passed quickly, and soon the heroine arrived at the order to perform her duties. There were rumors that the girl had some kind of illness, but she claimed to be in excellent physical shape. Many people wonder what happened to the girl, why she changed so drastically when she was such a diligent knight who never missed a day. It's a little strange to be wearing a uniform like this after the lady hasn't worn it for over a month. But she has no choice. A feeling creeps in inside that something is wrong. Maurice appears. He hasn't seen a lady in such a form for quite some time. He wonders where everyone went. The captain sent everyone away, since information appeared that a demon appeared near the capital. The young man did not go, because he thought that there was just a big boar there. There could not be a terrible monster in the capital. The maiden jumped up and jumped on her horse. On this day, Alcerto must die. The authorities received the news, but thinking it was a false alarm, sent the second detachment there, not suspecting that half of the knights would die. They sacrificed a lot just because the fair-haired youth went to the front and fought to the end. After that, the first guard went to battle. They are much stronger. The girl silently pleads that the guy must survive. Ankertna arrived at the scene and realized that her friend was no longer there. She was immediately told that going forward would be dangerous. Initially, she never broke the rules. But this time, she is obliged to save the young man. The blonde is asked to help with the transportation of the wounded. Disobeying, the beauty rushes forward. She must save Alcerto. He will not survive. The young man fights to the last. In front of him is a huge monster, its paws stretching forward. He will have to admit to himself that it was not worth trying to seem cool. Against something like this, the guy definitely doesn't have a single chance. A slow death awaits him, in which case, he needs to at least try to hold off the monster so that the others can escape. With a sharp movement, the animal pierces the back. Suddenly, Sigrid appears. She promises that she will do everything as best as possible. And the main thing for her friend is to make an effort to survive. Using Oro, the girl will be able to drive the sword deeper. However, she has too little energy. She will not be able to fight for long. She needs to finish him off in 1 minute. The woman twists and turns as best she can, but with every movement she realizes that things are not so simple. Finally, she manages to defeat the monster, but her rib hurts badly. Sigrid approaches her friend. She needs to check his wound, to understand how deep it is. The bones are visible there. It's amazing how he's still talking and breathing. He endured all this alone. The beauty uses her orc again. The pain in the young man gradually goes away. As soon as it gets better, he gets up. They sit him down, do not move again. The body completely gives up. This was the first time that a lady exhausted all her energy completely. The strength almost leaves the body, while the eyes close, dry lips whisper, "I'm glad you survived." After some time, one of the guys from the first squad arrived. He does not understand why everything ended so early. He approaches the two lying bloody on the ground. Raising her head, the lady gasps. Veramud Lunatil is in front of her. He feels a suspiciously familiar energy of Oro. Alcerto better not move until the military medics arrive. At this time, the hero opens the knight's shirt. He is going to check the condition of the stone. It is cracked, which means a lot of energy was used. Lunatil wants to know where the girl from the second squad got such strength from. In the past, her relationship with the knight was disgusting. The brunette never missed an opportunity to sarcastically remark that Ciri was the emperor's dog, and the man himself was his favorite. In the new world, they are not acquainted, however. In the past, he accepted attempts of reprisal. Only the created core cracked, but it will not recover on its own. The hero is going to make amends with a little help. A sharp pain in the chest makes it difficult to breathe. The stone turns black. The brunette, smiling, offers to join the Imperial Guard, but he is rudely refused. Lunatil tries to lure her in by saying that they have a higher salary, a lot of food and power. But despite all the advantages, the girl still refuses. In her head, the lady still hasn't decided on the owner. She will come to an end, because she is keeping the Oro to save her colleagues. It's like chivalry from a fairy tale book. The demon's body lies nearby, and the first guard is already approaching. The woman asks to pretend that the massacre was committed by a young man. No one should know about Oro. Lunatil agrees to keep the secret in exchange for the stone's control, and coming out to the squad, he declares that he managed to cope with everything alone. The hero suggests keeping his victory a secret and telling everyone that they, as a team, dealt with the monster, but that they need to help the wounded, and that the knights have suffered. It dawns on me that the reason the knights are so popular is because Veramud constantly shares his victories among everyone. After talking with the captain, Sigrid is suspended from duty for 3 whole days. Her friends are outraged, but after all, they are all glad that the woman was not harmed. Alcerto was prescribed treatment and sent home. Maurice suggested that they both visit a friend, getting into the carriage. He immediately changes his tone. "Are you crazy? The brunette doesn't understand how the girl went there alone. When he got there, he found out that half of the squad was wounded or dead. Words of apology are heard. Initially, the lady was not worried about anything because she had powers that insured her. But she cannot say this. She cannot let anyone know. It turns out that the hero is pleasantly surprised that the girl actually saved their friend. She always obeyed orders, but then she changed. In any case, it's good that Lunatil came to the rescue. Despite the hostility, his skills cannot fail to amaze. His powers are on another level. The lady recalls that in the past, she once encountered the young man when she had already been arrested on false charges. I only remember a sharp look. Something was said, but the memory is blurred because at that time, there was nothing inside due to the terrible torture. The carriage arrives at its destination. The second and third districts are inhabited mainly by ordinary people. Alkerto lives among them. The young man was healed fairly quickly. He was lucky. But for some time, he will have to walk around with bandages. The lady will not be able to patch up the wounds. He cannot have strength. Blue Eyes was hit the hardest on the head. The guy is more concerned about why the first guard came to commit murder after he was patched up. The knight didn't tell his family that he had been injured. They shouldn't worry. They live close to the capital. Even if he were to go to them, he would have to stay a while to catch up on a lot. There is no time to take a vacation. His father died long ago, and the boy has 4 brothers and sisters. Everything he earns goes to their needs. The beauty did not know about this. Her friend always seemed like a carefree person who liked to fool around with his colleagues. Sigrid wondered if she could help in any way, even a little. It will get easier in a couple of days. The lady can't help with this, but she still wants to. She doesn't have much time left. She wants to do everything to the maximum. Maurice can't hold back. Tears are appearing in his eyes. The way his girlfriend is behaving is reckless. Why don't you think about how to live longer? Medicines can cost a lot of money, but even so, it's better to at least try. When the heroine learns that she is terminally ill, she snorts in displeasure and has to explain everything. The knights were ashamed. They thought that the strange behavior was due to illness. The blonde did not expect that the rumor would spread among the ranks of the guards. I remember moments with Marisette. It's no wonder why she was so kind. My heart skips a beat. My friends might think that the deception was planned on purpose. Sigrid thought that now that they had finally gotten along, everything would be fine with them. She didn't want to distance herself. Forrest reluctantly promised that they would take all the blame on themselves. Before leaving, the young man asks to speak with his friend one-on-one. It turns out that the first guard took all the credit for the request. The woman doesn't want anyone else to know about the Oro, as this could influence the further course of events, which won't be good. Despite the whole situation, one can only accept it. Once again, the hero thanks everyone for saving him. Ciri is waiting outside. It is not quite warm anymore, so the knight throws a cloak over her shoulders. He offers his hand to help her into the carriage. In the morning, Commander Nas arrived at the office of the 1st Squadron of the Imperial Guard. He asked Lunatil to send all checks home and not to the office. Looking at the paper, the young man can't help but laugh. Because the check is only for 4 buttons, the conversation quickly changes direction. How many people in our country use Oro? There were only 4 owners. Veramud found another one. Unfortunately, he was rejected. It was a young, 20-year-old girl. We notice that if this is the case, she is the first and only. Especially since she is only 20, she is definitely a genius. We don't believe in her existence. Lunatil wants to lure Sigrid to them. The Imperial Guard is divided into 8 divisions, each with its own command system and its own level. The 1st Squadron has great authority and power. As it is a unit near the Emperor, their commander has the right to give orders to everyone. Lunatil does not give up so easily. He goes to Ankertna's house. Going inside, he asks the maid to call the girl for a talk. Sitting down at the table, the woman looks displeased. Oro allowed the guard to easily track her. He again offers to join the 1st detachment of guards. All the key figures of the detachment are in the main palace. The knights from the 2nd Guard have access only to the 2nd part. Saving Alkerto changed the future. It's unclear what will happen next, and for the sake of extra information, it's much more profitable to remain in the guard. The beauty needs time to think. Verima did not think that she would immediately agree. Nodding, he leaves. In the past, the young man had no interest in Ciri. After the Emperor ordered the slums to be set on fire, they even rushed to kill her. The world is changing. It is difficult to understand how the event had an impact. The lady has something to do, spending time with friends. She kept putting it off. It's time to deal with the wizard. Having set off for her destination, the knight saw two men mocking the girl. They were trying to take her to the count, but she refused. The blonde reminds them that they are not at the count's estate. The summons is completely unfounded. And Oren steps forward and is asked to recall his servants. The knight of the second guard does not dare to tell him what to do, so the young man decides to deal with her. The blonde easily deals with everyone, and now the guards are hurrying. At first, they don't believe that the man threatened an ordinary citizen, but they must obey. They are going to take him away with them. At the end, the hero hisses that they will remember him again. The green-eyed girl is asked if everything is okay, and she asks in response, Ciri takes her home. The beauty asks about a man named Arcana. The red-haired woman nods and takes Enkurtna with her to the house where he lives. The young man opens the door and hugs the girl. He was very worried, because anything could happen to his sister. Sigrid introduces herself respectfully, addressing him as the wizard she had been looking for so long. Arcana freezes and abruptly closes the door. The girl didn't think she would be refused so decisively. They didn't even start a conversation. On the way back, security arrested Ciri for assault and intimidation. Once in the office, the heroine assures that she did nothing wrong. She was just fulfilling her duties. The count shrugs his shoulders. But there are no traces of beatings on you. His subordinates were attacked. It's time for Sigrid to confess and apologize. The master even has evidence that he is right. They have a witness who saw the whole situation. The woman talks about her witness and promises to give the address. Maurice comes into the room. The lady's maid arrived in a hurry to the knight and reported that the lady had been arrested. According to the count, he and his guards had gone to the capital. Sir Enkurtna was hindering their movement. Using a weapon, the girl beat them and, taking advantage of the opportunity, stole money from the man, after which she ran away. The description of the knight's situation is different. She met Oren when he was trying to kidnap an ordinary citizen. She stood up for him. The testimony of the guards who arrived after the girl differs greatly. The captain believes her, but not completely. The count, a witness, and a frightened peasant is brought into the room. The stranger states that while walking along the road, he stopped because of the noise. There was a fight. The lady suddenly took out her sword and did not want to listen to anything. After a long battle, she took the money for herself. A man who had never seen the beauty openly lies about her. But Maurice believes his friend. No need to worry. The guards checked the address the woman provided, but no one lives there. The people who lived there disappeared a few days ago, although they had a conversation with Syria recently. Oren reminds us that the more a girl lies, the more disadvantageous it is for her. The heroine is required to apologize, and if she has money, it would smooth things over even more. A familiar voice, Rohengrin approaches her friend with a smile. They want to ask her a question, but she turns to the count. They had to come in a hurry because of the sudden arrest. Approaching the witness, the lady asks why he was not seen if he was standing 100 meters away, and if he was standing further, how could he have heard the conversation? The man said that 3 security guards were injured. If this were true, they would have surrendered immediately. The count could start looking for new guards for his activities, and then, because of everything, he would have to leave. The young man assumes that there was simply a misunderstanding between them. Dirt got on the clothes, which is why the heroine asked for money for laundry. The smile on his face is fake. Oren will lose everything if he gets involved in something like this again. The Marquise is not joking. He got what he needed, so he apologizes. As soon as everyone leaves, Maurice thanks Rowan for her help, his heart heavy. The blonde asks why it was necessary to lie. The brunette knows the girl didn't do anything, but Ciri has no evidence. She's shaking with anger, ready to attack the false witness. People used her. Inside, there is a strong feeling of worthlessness, a sharp pain. The Marquise hits her on the cheek. She repeats again that she believes Ciri. Rohengrin wants to talk in the carriage while he has the opportunity. The two of them leave, staying with the captain. Forrest asks about that very address. It's hard to understand why she had to stop and give in to the lies. Her friend reminds her that the lady wants to get rid of her past self. To break out of the confines of a cornered world, it's worth looking at the situation from a different angle. There are always 3 perspectives. For commoners, Oren's position is undeniable. If the man had given false testimony, he would have been dead later. The Count himself was to blame for the situation because he forced the peasant to obey him. Sigrid caught the hero breaking the law, and this could have been resolved peacefully through conversation. Such things are still difficult to perceive. As soon as Lohengrin entered the hall, the enemy fell silent because she was a marquise, and those who desire power over the weak are weak in relation to those who are stronger than themselves. The lady dressed more pretentiously to show her status. In the past, Ankurtna was also feared by everyone. It was not a matter of being right, but of power. Ciri is alive, but she is still worried about accepting another person's lies. She should become a little more flexible. It is not always worth solving problems head-on. They want to give Virgo more strength to act correctly in the future. After talking with a friend, things became a little easier. Heading home, the blonde was already looking forward to rest, when suddenly she heard a muffled scream and saw the same wizard, only covered in blood. Falling to his knees, he begs for the help he so desperately needs. People have kidnapped his sister. First, the young man is taken into the house to calm down. After the knight left, strangers broke into the house, they beat the magician, and while he was coming to, they took Seria away, throwing a sack over her. Green-Eyed is a wizard. He could handle this situation, but his magic is sealed. It cannot be used. In order to fully use the energy, I need to pass the final exam, but I still have to wait a year. I wanted to protect my sister, but otherwise, I'm just useless. The blonde nods. She will do everything to save the girl. The young man will remain in the estate. The fight with the Count is pointless. Syria will be saved in a different way. Sigrid went to Lunatil. Opening the door, the brunette grinned, as if not expecting to see such a guest at such a late hour. The woman wants to be given full powers. If the offer is still on, she needs temporary permission to act. As soon as the Sir awards the lady with a title, she immediately starts to run away. Veramud promises that if someone needs to be killed, he will definitely do it. Ciri found herself at the Count's house. Maurice was already standing near the gate. He was also looking for that witness. There was a small plan on how to resolve everything. The servants are whispering. The woman from the village was taken to the basement. Oren's taste is specific. The exact location must be found out and then attack. The guards have the right to search the mansion without prior notice. If it weren't for Lohengrin, the girl would have gotten into a fight long ago. The girl is glad that she has such good friends. It's time to act. Syria's brother is dead, which means there is no one to protect her. The Count is threatening. The girl will pay for her attempts at disobedience. Sigrid jumps down from above. The Count falls dead. The citizen should run away and, in order not to be accused, shout that a gang member killed him. Running outside, Milady screams about what happened. Rumors quickly spread. The man kidnapped a commoner and wanted to take revenge on her. It was none other than Forrest who saved the girl. The young man received an award from the leader for his bravery. It's good that all ends well. He can't help but admit that it's all thanks to Ankurtna. He's surprised that the maiden has come up with a perfect plan, and she's now been given the powers of the first guard. Arcana sincerely thanks for the help. He also apologizes for his reaction earlier. Usually, those who seek out wizards have unhealthy goals. The girl needs to be asked a few questions about the time reversal. It turns out that her mind did not return anything, but changed the dimension. This is called multi-dimensional theory. Each choice at a crossroad adds 2 more presents. Each creates multiple dimensions. Changing the future is not a problem. After the whole story, the girl thanks him for his help, and the young man asks that his sister live with the knight for a while. She is under Alsakinda's protection. She just wants to repay for her help. No one can find out about her connection with the aristocracy. The magician should quickly look for housing in the capital. Shrugging her shoulders, the maiden suggests that they all live together. It would be better for their family not to be separated, and Sigrid wouldn't even charge rent for the accommodation. She is always ready to intervene in a dangerous situation. Without expecting gratitude, she is ready to help. For some reason, she wants the magician to become a friend. The beauty wishes to have more friends. It hasn't been that long since she made her first ones. She understands that the man may refuse and accepts his feelings, but surprisingly, he nods, thinking that this is a good idea. There was a stupid smile on his face. Knowing Arcana's personality, It seemed that he would break off communication after the task. They would now have friendship. This cannot but please. Mariset, as usual, is the last to know everything. She didn't know about the arrest and was the last to learn that her friend was not terminally ill. I wonder how the lady knew she could enter any building. They didn't get rid of that because of her origins with the Auschwitz, the real Imperial Guard of the past. As time goes by, the Emperor's powers weaken, and the conversation turns to the first detachment. Mariset advises doing as one wishes, but as a rule, it is more difficult for the strong to marry. The lady herself hasn't found anyone yet. Ciri should have liked Lunatil, his family is good, and the princess is a cousin. The first impression is strange. The young man unbuttoned his shirt and checked his chest. Rohengrin promises that if he appears at the new ball in her estate, he will not be allowed to get away with indecency. Ciri will also be at the event, and she must find a new dress. But it will be very expensive. The girl remembers what will happen tomorrow, the death of the princess. A woman was attacked by a group of mysterious people. She died, and the blame for failing to protect fell on Lunatil. It's worth helping him. The girl still wants to return to her temporary duties because, for now, she wants to be with her friends. Prince Sirios and Princess Ariel are in the carriage. Veramud is riding with them. He doesn't understand why they had to take him along. They need to try to hide as best they can. Marquis Phoenix, head of the Western aristocracy, has requested an urgent meeting, and the man's wife must also come to try to prove that this is not a conspiracy. The western part of the empire is a plain, bordered by barbarian tribes. And at one time, due to the empire's campaign to overthrow the barbarians, the aristocrats of the West shed a lot of blood in an endless war. The Ministry of the Interior's proposal for peaceful relations with the barbarians was based on marriages, so that the Western nobles had barbarian blood in their veins, while the rest despised them. The meeting will take place thanks to the princess who wrote to the ladies. The prince intends to show the Marquis his true intentions. Veramud doubts it, after all. The young man is going to meet in such a place without proper accompaniment. Upon arriving, he plans to check the greenhouse first. There is no one else there. A demon appears. The captain shouts for the horses to be removed from the carriage and taken away. The prince and princess will be protected by the others, while the master deals with the monster. Ariel feels sick. She can't believe that the demon left the royal hunting grounds. The prince assures that everything will be fine. Perhaps the Marquis has nothing to do with all this. The captain will be able to sort everything out quickly. There is another demon outside the carriage window. The royals are in danger again. The man rushes to the prince. The chance of coping is negligible. Suddenly, a knight appears nearby. She promises that she will deal with the second monster. Except for the fact that the princess lost consciousness, everything is fine. Ankertna is glad she made it in time. It took a long time to get information about the hunting grounds. The girl greets Sirios. The lie is not at all convincing. The lady says that she was training nearby. Veramud was momentarily confused and almost got into trouble. The Marquis remained alive, as did the horses. There is a noise. It seems that there is still a threat around. A battle with mercenaries begins. It feels as if the movements of the men are familiar. The young man was surprised that the movement was so coordinated. Although they were working together for the first time, soon everything was finished. It was difficult to enter the forest without horses. The lady declares that she will return everything that was given to her. She thanks for the temporary powers. Having appeared abruptly, having left just as abruptly, she found herself at home. In his office, the young man ponders whether the lady's words have made him doubtful. The prince, however, checked and discovered that there have been minor changes in the composition of the people around him. Ariel is pregnant, which is good news. But the young man is worried by the fact that the Marquis lured her to such a remote place just to communicate. The demons attacked. This all happened for a reason. There is something hidden behind it. Perhaps the man is trying to denigrate the heir. I don't want to miss even the smallest loophole. The investigation will begin with Sigrid from the Second Order. In the morning, Veramud came to visit the girl. A stranger opened the door for him. He led him into the living room. While the lady was busy, she would come down a little later. Ankert is curious as to why the captain of the First Guard arrived without an invitation. The hero needs to find out where the heroine was heading when she was given temporary powers. Taking powers and using them whenever you want is not allowed. She thinks that she has repaid for it in full. This is another strange situation. How could you be in the forest? Until the very end, the lady will insist that something was a coincidence, but after talking with Arcana, it is better to keep a secret that she managed to return to the past. Telling your friends about changing reality would be the worst decision. The girl doesn't really like Lunatil. It's time for her to leave. She has other things to do. The young man decided that he would follow Ankertna because he wanted to be her friend. They went to the outskirts of the capital, where the Alkert family lived. Stopping near the door, the beauty notices a child running up to her. Soon, an older girl hurries up. It turns out that this is his sister. Her name is Rudy. The blonde introduces herself as Alkerto's friend and colleague, and he'll have a hard time getting home for a while, so she's come to help. First of all, the beauty was going to patch the ceiling, and then the floor, so that nothing would leak in case of rain. Veramud was also obliged to participate in the work because he came for the company. Over time, a lot has changed. The house began to look much better. Rudy thanks her from the bottom of her heart. If they come again, she will appreciate it, although they have already provided enough help. On the way back, he could breathe a sigh of relief. The Alkerto family home really did need improvement, but his pride prevented him from asking for help directly. Most of the royal knights live in good houses, and the red-haired one would not like to talk about his family history, although he values his brothers and sisters. As Rudy explained, Alkerto was the son of the man who married her mother. They were not related by blood and did not look alike. After some time, her stepfather died, and the girl will always be grateful to his son, who continues to support her. Ciri regrets that she did not learn about her friend's situation earlier. Without telling Alkerto anything, the knight helped quietly. Veramud believes that she should have talked to her friend and only then gone to help his family. The magician advises them to talk in person, to discuss those things that they cannot understand in each other. There are no evil intentions in Ankertna's heart. Heading home first, the redhead is going to cook dinner. Lunatil should also leave, because their work is finished here. Before giving his consent, the brunette states that the prince wants to have a personal conversation. This is connected with what happened in the forest with the demons. In doubt, the lady cannot predict what the conversation will be like. She asks the question directly. Does His Highness suspect me? Veramud himself doesn't know. He doesn't understand whether the lady is too smart or, quite the opposite, the time of her appearance is too precise to be a coincidence. Sigrid thought that the words about her being at the training would be more than convincing. However, she would have to explain herself. Lunatil suddenly spoke about a reward. After all, he had been helping all day. The brunette wanted to become friends, which meant he wouldn't mind getting to know her better. The blonde thought he wanted to talk to Alkerto and apologize for knocking him out during their first meeting. The maiden promises that she will try to explain the situation to the knight. The hero declares that he wanted to become Sigrid's friend. He followed her without even knowing where she was going. He feigns frustration because he has been following her all this time, and she didn't even know where it would all lead. The lady cannot believe that such a man wants to get closer to her. Since the heroine needs to think, the brunette suggests postponing the conversation until the writer's ball. But this could be a problem. The invitation has been sent, the dress is too expensive, and Veramud is planning to go to the store. When talking with Maurice, it becomes clear that the girl made a mistake by showing up at Alkerto's house. She needs to think not only from her side, but also from her friend's side. He didn't give her permission. Rohengrin said that you need to think beyond the surface when deciding to take a step. The beauty goes to talk. She apologizes for coming to his family. I hurt you, but I just wanted to help. The voice lowered. The redhead never asked anyone for help. However, she still went forward without thinking about anything. Usually, the knight does only what is beneficial to her. The conversation will continue, but already inside, because on the street, this is not discussed. While pouring tea, the young man directly asks his girlfriend if she thinks he's pathetic. The blue-eyed man is angry at her for helping him, so he's angry at himself. In fact, as everyone knows, the guy loves to have fun, especially when it's with friends, but he can't do it often because he needs to support his family. The whole problem is with the father. He was a good man. His connection with alcohol and gambling ruined everything. He left the family with a lot of debts. After a while, the knight managed to pay everything off, But then, the finances were shaken too much. Sometimes the hero thinks about how much easier it would be without children. After all, this is not his family, but his father's. Because of such thoughts, he feels like a bad person, because he wants peace and joy. The anger at Sigrid is unfounded, because the stab of guilt hit the guy in the heart, as if the girl is indicating that she can take care of other people's children better than their brother. Never before had the hero told anyone about his situation. He didn't want to meet sympathetic glances. Whatever his friend's intentions were, it hurt him. Ciri had no idea that her partner was deeply unhappy. She never sympathized with him. She went there to help. True friends help no matter what. Elkerto would have done the same if he had the opportunity. Later, after telling her friends, Mariset was indignant. Although they were close, she would never have died for Ankurtna. They were third-level friends, nothing higher than that, which meant they weren't obligated to get into trouble. The girl is on level 3. She is interested in how close Rowangreen and Ingold are. They have known each other for several years and spent a lot of time together. Miss is distracted by the butler. It turns out that she was given a gift. It came from Lunatil. Marie immediately asks when they managed to become such good friends. Opening the box, the heroine sees a beautiful dress. In the note, the hero asks to be given his first dance at the ball. It's time to try on the outfit. It will definitely fit perfectly. The knight even felt a little uncomfortable. She had never worn such a luxurious garment. He had not only chosen the color, but also the size, which meant it was definitely indecent. Every day, Sigrid trains as usual. Seria calls her, because breakfast is ready. The day of the ball has arrived, which means she needs to have time to get ready and leave on time. It would be good if Arkan went too, however, he would be uncomfortable. A refusal is heard. The young man is studying magic. It seems he doesn't even need to visit the ice tower, which means that everything is fine. The tower is located in the south of the Desert Mirage. It is the gathering place of all wizards. Most of them spend their lives studying all the elements there. They do not want to show their power outside. They remain distant from others. Green-Eyed reminds him that after the final exam, he will have to go there, after which he can choose a place of work. Because there are few magicians, which means there are many places where help may be needed. Arcana offers to become Ankurtna's assistant. Even if this does not happen, the girl hopes that they can remain good friends and maintain communication. It was time to go to Mariset. The heroine knew that she was completely unprepared, so she would help her get ready. She needed to get ready for the evening from the very morning, otherwise she wouldn't be able to make it on time. Sigrid is surrounded by maids who will help with clothes and hair. After some time, the image is finally completed and it looks perfect. The dress sparkles, it's a joy to behold. Only the final details are missing, like a beautiful brooch. Mariset also looks great. This isn't her first ball. Rohengrin meets you at the door. She smiles and compliments her friends. Their images are too good to look at. Alsakinda is almost immediately taken away for conversation. All the aristocrats want to chat with her. The girl introduces her new friend to them, and she, too, is immediately drawn in. The woman barely managed to escape. She needs to go somewhere to catch her breath. On the way out, she runs into Maurice, who blushes with surprise. The girl's outfit embarrasses him. In fact, the beauty really suits the way she has transformed. A voice is heard from behind. The young man's brother approaches and asks about the lady standing next to him. Amos de Forest, the eldest son of the family, is quite surprised. Because it can't be said that a sword suits a maiden. Maurice stands up for me. My friend handles weapons better than anyone. Detachment of the guard is like... At first glance, they are not special. The man is asked to be more careful with his words, to behave more appropriately. Amos snorts when he assures that he never even thought about touching his younger brother's girlfriend. As soon as he leaves, Maurice apologizes for his behavior. It seems he thought they were a couple. Besides the rudeness, it seems that the brothers are not on the best of terms, which is generally logical. The knight suggests taking a break and dancing a little, but as soon as he takes the girl by the hand, Lunatil appears. He had booked the first dance even earlier, when he gave her the dress. Taking the beauty to dance, the brunette smiles. She expresses her displeasure. She does not think that the act was polite. He does not want to apologize to Maurice. He does not deserve it. Veramud whispers in his ear that he wouldn't mind talking separately after the music ends. Perhaps it has to do with the crown prince. and they go out onto the balcony. As expected, the outfit looks perfect on Ankurtna's body. She pushes his hands away, causing him to fall. In the future, he shouldn't do this, so as not to irritate her once again. The secret conversation should contain information about what the crown prince wants. Of course, it is worth discussing this first. In the morning, the lady should go to the castle at 11 o'clock. Lunatil will meet her at the entrance to take her straight to the conversation. The young man switches to the fact that the heroine promised him to choose the correct answer. Promised him that she would take time to think. The beauty remembers that the guy wants to become her friend, but despite everything, she has doubts about it. Approaching from afar, Ankurtna explains that, as the man has already noted, she is not a very interesting conversationalist, and, unlike the Duke's son, she does not have a very good background. When he's about to become Sigrid's friend, he makes a mistake, thinking for just a second. The brunette asks with displeasure what difference it makes. After all, he really wants to be friends. In that case, the girl agrees to friendship. It would be good to start from the lowest level so as not to regret anything. I hope we can take care of each other. The question of what awaits the beauty after all this is spinning in my head. Whether they can become best friends or not, this is no longer clear. As soon as the lady goes back into the hall, Marisette comes closer. She is very tired. There is not a single worthy man. Rohengrin is stuck in a crowd of talkative old women. Ingeled wants to save her friend, but Ankurtna doesn't see the point. Despite her objection, the lady approaches the aristocrats, and they almost immediately begin to compliment her. Just like with the Marquis, they don't understand why the ideal groom candidate has never been found. She is not happy with her low title, but defending herself is not bad. Having angered the Viscountess and left the others stunned, Ingold takes her friend away. The heroine is glad to be spared the conversation, however. It was a bit too much. Rovi's nerves are a bit shaken. He needs to go out into the fresh air to get away from everything that's going on in the hall. There are too many people. On the street, an acquaintance asks if the beauty's fiancé has arrived. Ankurtna is surprised. It turns out that the Marquise is engaged to the son of the Marquis Illison. His name is Katien. The young man never showed up, the knight understands. She is sorry. She would like to meet him in person, to understand who her close friend will marry. Marie finds out that Ciri will wear the same dress tomorrow. A scream is heard. This is completely unacceptable. She is not sure that she will be able to attend the meeting at all. She still has to go to the castle. Overall, the evening went well. The girl wore nice clothes, and she was with friends. Marie is glad that it was interesting, but if it's difficult, you don't have to come the next day. Ingold is not strong in swordplay. It would hurt if she were forced to train daily. Ankurtna met with Lunatil. When he tried to hug her, she hit him. Her friends laugh. Veramud himself is getting ready to leave. He danced with the person he likes. The assistant is surprised. Usually, the boss stays until the last, drinks and dances. Standing on the street, the brunette realizes that there will be a bruise. Suddenly, he hears a familiar voice. A girl rushes towards him. She immediately apologizes for how she behaved earlier. A friend told her that the use of force should be a last resort. The blonde didn't intend to do anything wrong. She simply misunderstood the instructions. Even though it's Veramud, since they became friends, it's better to maintain good relations as long as possible. The hero agrees to accept the apology. I'm fine. From now on, you should be more careful with your words, lest someone else try to hit you. The young man takes a strange position, starting to give compliments to brighten up the situation. The lady feels uncomfortable. There is panic inside. She has never heard anything like this before, so she does not know how to react correctly. On top of everything else, you are good with a sword. The hero believes that the knight's skill with weapons is on a different level. The heroine can't help but start smiling, her eyes shining with joy. It turns out that compliments about appearance are not as pleasing as those about skill. The next day, at 11 a.m., the heroine arrived at the castle. Yesterday was a great day, but she was worried about the relationship of a close friend with his brother. Lunatil knows about the forests. The eldest son of the family is on the other side. He is compared with the youngest. The Viscount does not recognize him as his successor, so there is no other choice but to hate Maurice. At the meeting, the prince thanks the knight for saving his and his wife's lives. In Ankurton, they doubt that she might have something to do with the Western Union. She resists. I swore allegiance to the Imperial family. Their couple includes all the people of the royal family. The man asks what the answer will be if he asks for personal loyalty. He will become the new master. Ciri tried to avoid this in every way. The lady does not want to allow herself to be subordinate to the emperor. She hopes to avoid such a fate. I am not good enough to serve you. The prince asks if the lady serves his father. She jumps up in fear and screams that this is not so. In any case, Ciri will be on Sirius's side, since she saved him. Besides, Lunatil contacted the knight several times after that incident. If the lady refuses personal service, they won't force her. The prince is left alone with the duke. He is angry that they dared to refuse him. They gave her the sword. There is a special reason for this. It is made of real steel. Everything must be according to the rules. A weapon of this kind? Like a nameplate. Because only Sirius can give it as a gift. There is bait. He hopes that Veramud will catch a good fish. The lady refused to obey, which means there are no obligations to protect. The gentleman will become emperor. You just have to wait for that. The boy is constantly locked in a cage. He has to choose the right words, constantly say things he doesn't want to say. Ciri is excellent. One day, she will fall into someone's field of vision. I would like to think that one of her friends, and not one of her enemies, will take her after the conversation. The young man approaches the girl and almost immediately demands that she give him the sword that she managed to get. The woman refuses. She will keep it for herself if it will help the future. For the sake of the Imperial family, she is ready to risk her life to help them. Without listening, the brunette takes the sword by force. He becomes angry because what is happening seems stupid. The lady understands everything, but agrees to a stupid fate. She cannot sacrifice herself. No one knows what is going on in the lady's soul. She sincerely wanted to be recognized, tried to achieve this, although this is not what a knight should pursue as his goal. A painfully familiar voice, the emperor greeting Lunatil, a lump rose in his throat. It was impossible to utter a word. The man to whom the girl gave her life does not even know her. Ankurtna tries to pull herself together. The knight comes to the rescue. The maiden is too nervous. The old man nods. He was just passing by. The guys will continue their discussion. The brunette shakes his friend by the shoulders. She fell into a trance and did not react to anything. Tears froze in her eyes. Her voice trembled. Forgive me, but I urgently need to leave. Goodbye. Ciri returned home very soon. She immediately rushes to Arcana. It's high time to talk to someone, not to carry all this burden on her shoulders. The maiden feels that she does not want to die. In the past, even in the closest one, it seemed to the heroine that dying would not be a problem. But when faced with a person who would lead to death, her body showed that it rejected all ideas. Time spent with friends is truly incredibly valuable, and one doesn't want to lose everything because of someone else's decisions. The magician believes that it's wonderful to have something to hold on to. If there are those who value the knight and want everything to be well with her, she should stop treating herself so frivolously. Arcana has already said that after receiving a license, he will become a sorcerer. It's extremely rare for people to become wizards. It would be a shame if he came back and his friend was already gone. She saved his and his sister's lives, and that's a reason to become a personal wizard and give them comfort. The days go by as usual. The girl trains in the second squad. Another fight between her and Maurice flares up. After a while, the man loses. The fight was worthy. Marie is also offered to fight. She tries to refuse. Rovi pushes her friend forward. She takes the sword incorrectly the first time, and then, angry, runs away. Elkerto, the one who laughed the most, came to apologize. Ingold also often laughed at him, so he decided to take revenge. There are already rumors about the young man that he has no skills. The same can happen with the girl. The guy did not hear what was said about him. You are considered an unfortunate knight who is trying to adapt. The man froze. His friends showed up at the wrong time. For some reason, he thinks that it is Ankurtna who is telling everyone about his situation. She has no right to throw words around. David decides to talk to Ingold while Maurice talks to Elkerto. It is clear that he is a little upset, angry, but there is no point in ruining relationships with all his friends. Maurice spoke about the rumors that were circulating among her acquaintances. The red-haired man was sure that Ingold had told Ciri, and that only she knew about the conditions in which the knight's family lived. The young man should go home to rest. Maurice almost immediately goes to ask questions directly to the one with whom he spoke. Where did all these rumors come from? In fact, no one knows what is happening, and the lady found out about everything completely by accident. Ingold behaved incorrectly. One should not use a person's weakness against him. Apart from the rumors that don't exist, the beauty didn't make anything up. She's angry that she ended up being the only one left in the lurch. Rovi understands that it's better to send Forrest away. We need to talk. Marie had previously said that she had received the knighthood only for the sake of marriage. If information spread through society that she could not hold a sword, it would be a disgrace. Siri explains that even if the goal is not to become a fighter, one must try to fulfill basic duties. Usually, rumors are based on facts. One should be more careful. Elsa Kidna suggests taking advantage of the moment and taking a few lessons from Ankurtna so that you don't just have a status quo, but also try to fit in by improving your skills. It's good that the girl agreed, but the misunderstanding with Alkerto was never resolved. He didn't want to talk after what happened. In the end, there were no rumors. I need to talk to him frankly to fix everything as soon as possible. I can't concentrate during training. Arcana came with food, and at the same time asked, "Is something bothering you?" I have to tell the whole story. Two close friends are in a quarrel. The young man suggests not to interfere so as not to disrupt anything. But if this happens, they may never make up. Another idea is to talk to someone who knows them. The blonde didn't think of this right away. She can use Maurice as a negotiator. The Arcana doesn't reach the branch to cut it. Since Oro is rarely used, the beauty decides to help. Not everyone can do that. To put on a whole performance, this is my specialty. The sword, surprisingly, couldn't withstand such a load. But the maiden herself agreed to this, so the blame lies solely with her. It's strange that a sword that served for so long broke. She'll have to buy a new one. To use magic, a weapon made of dark steel was needed. The blonde went to Maurice's house. He drank for a long time in the company of Alkerto. He initially knew that Siri did not spread rumors, but for some reason he got furious. The hero said that he feels insignificant. His girlfriend works a lot, and yet she has such talent. But he feels the most insignificant when she is around. Of course, he doesn't hate Sigrid. Rather, he likes her, because she is a good person. Even when she saved him, she didn't ask for anything in return and didn't try to brag to anyone about her feat. Alkerto is even more insignificant and pathetic when he envies a beauty. Marie got him angry, although he tried to hold on and not show it. After listening to everything Maurice said, Siri agreed that Ingold should apologize, but she was proud, so instead of trying to force it, it was better to increase the chances of a meeting naturally. The lady has a good idea. Maurice will train with her, she will help her friend, and if Forrest comes, Alkerto will definitely be with him. The plan is not bad, you need to be sure. Initially, the heroine took a long time to achieve her mastery, so it's not a big deal if she conducts a little training. It will be great if the relationship between friends improves. It's time to leave. So the exact time will be discussed a little later. Forrest is asked to recover from his hangover so that the work will be fruitful and nothing will stand in their way. A woman is looking at swords in a store. She needs to choose something more expensive so she can continue training in peace. A weapon made of Verata steel catches her eye, but it's too expensive. There is a mess of thoughts inside my head. I don't want to spend the last of my money. I need more money to be able to cover everything. Sigrid decides to pawn her expensive dress, as it can't be worn twice. As fate would have it, they meet Veramud, who almost immediately extracts all the information. He is not surprised by the way the girl behaves, because when he complimented her, the words about her abilities made a greater impression than about her appearance. A man decides to buy his girlfriend a sword. He chose one that would fit perfectly. Made of dark steel, it cost 3 years' salary, but the purchase took a long time. Deciding to ask the same question, the young man clarifies whether the lady has changed her mind and wants to join the guard. Previously, she was only interested in her career and saw nothing else. Before, she only wanted to follow her master, but after a while, she realized that there were more important things. Veramud wouldn't pressure her. He offered to spend time together and try out the new sword. Lunatil's house has a wonderful training hall, a place much better than the one in the Second Order. It's time to face in battle. test your skills. The way the young man holds the sword makes him look like a completely different person. In fact, it can't help but be attractive. She already thinks that she has won, when at the last moment, the man kicks her right in the stomach, throwing her body across the entire hall, leaving a bruise for sure. The next fight will be real. From the lady's first movements, it becomes clear that she is fighting to the death. The brunette sees a weak spot, but does not dare to strike. Taking advantage of its slow motion, the girl screams that she won. The sword falls to the ground. She used Oro, they shout at her. You can't just rely on magic. It's wrong. Everything has its limits. A lady can't want to be left without hands. A virgin shrugs her shoulders. Because if something terrible happens, it will happen completely by accident, because she made such a decision. The brunette asks more menacingly if his friend could repeat the same thing, only under different circumstances. It's good that everything worked out this time, but one isn't always so lucky. They decide to fight again. The young man has not trained with anyone for a long time, and even after the battle, he does not look tired. He is physically larger, has more muscles, and is more experienced. Everything is known about habits, all because during the last battle they were strangely synchronized. Lunatil has a keen eye. I was not deceived by Oro. The young man jokes that he was being followed the whole time. Not sharing his sense of humor, the woman gets up and quickly leaves the room. There is definitely some kind of connection between them. The girl is helped to put on that very dress. The maids explain that all the clothes were sent to the wash, but she can ask the master for other clothes. Having agreed to the conditions that already exist, the lady goes into the hall. Lunatil is hungry, just like the knight. A heavy dinner will not do, and light sandwiches are a more than excellent addition. The heroine offers to give the dress back, but she is refused. After all, it is a gift that should not be returned, and it does not fit. It's noticeable that how much money they spend on her makes you worry. But in that case, the man will ask for a favor. Call me by my name and not in full. Being friends, they both have every right to address each other informally, and remembering the past, the lady realizes that she would never have thought that they would have such a relationship. In the past, he was given the most difficult tasks. It seemed like a sign of trust, so the heroine envied him. Only once, when she helped with the mission, the expression on the Duke's face was full of shock. As she steps out of the carriage, the girl thanks him for the day. She will keep both gifts. Before she leaves, the young man whispers, I can't wait for you to join us. It's hard for the heroine to understand what exactly he means. Verima doesn't need weak people on the team. If he meant that, he wouldn't have said something like that. The knights have gathered at the training center. Alcikidna has good basic skills, but it would be good if she knew how to use them. Alcurdo should get rid of his habits. Maurice is the only one who wields a sword perfectly. It's strange that he hasn't transferred to the first guard yet. It's time for a break. The girl is glad that the misunderstanding with her friend has been resolved. The redhead came out. Forrest felt awkward in the presence of the ladies. He was getting ready to leave, just like Marie. They would see each other at training. Rohengrin starts a conversation. Sigrid is pursuing some goal. If she were in her friend's place, she would force Ingold to apologize for what happened earlier. The Marquise speaks as if there is something wrong between them. So as not to discuss it, the girl asks to change the subject. The blue-eyed one asks, if you had an enemy, who would it be? As far as one can see, the lady cannot have any enemies. She has the greatest influence among the entire squad. The truth cannot be told. There are only a few levers of power left in the country. The first is the emperor. The second is the prince. The third is the Western Union. And the last is the centrists. If Irios were to be sprayed, the blame would be placed on both camps if it looks like the knight is on the side of the heir and therefore opposes the others. The heroine thought that the emperor had no reason to hurt the family. But no, he had already done bad things to the heir's brother and the empress. Power is always scary because it makes people walk over their heads. The desire to gain power makes His Majesty want to destroy his own son and daughter-in-law. The Rohengrin family is not a centrists. As such, people have the right to choose anyone. One can serve not only the royal family. The most important thing is the desire of each person. Ankertna is free to make enemies and serve her master. But if she serves the ruling family, sooner or later she will have to choose. Later, a friend came to see Marisette, and almost immediately she asked if she wanted to apologize, and that it was okay, because Sigrid could help if she wanted to make peace and improve the relationship. The girl feels terrible, because the guy may never talk to her again. It is not necessary to run and apologize right away, but there will still be no way out. It is obvious that the knight will not accept the words immediately and will be offended. The good news is that over time, communication will be possible, and the relationship will improve a little. It's important to look around. Ingold makes a mistake when she only does what she tries to look cool in the eyes of others. For the same reason she became a knight. She never denies that she only cares about her cover. She wants to be the center of attention. Marie thinks that there is no point in trying to explain more. Her friend will not understand her. Sigrid claims that this is not true. There was a time when she cared a lot about what other people said about her. She wanted to become the best knight. She did anything in an attempt to climb higher. Thanks to her surroundings, she only recently realized that she shouldn't adjust to other people's standards, and she became happy. Despite Marisette's desire to look good in the eyes of others, she can be honest with her friends. She doesn't have to do much to become special to the people who already love her. In the morning, Marie arrived to training on time. This time, she tied her hair up so that it would not get in the way. She wants to try to be a little more sincere person. Maurice notices that something is wrong. Soon he learns that the girl asked her friend to apologize. Until Alcerto accepts it, Ingold's expression is more sincere. The heroine is sure that the beauty will get better. She just needs to get through this stage that is putting so much pressure on her. Sigrid wants the best. She just wants to help. The next morning, Seria serves breakfast. She just finished cooking, so she suggests trying. Perhaps this time she outdid herself. The food is truly incredibly delicious. The girl admits that she once dreamed of becoming a professional chef and still burns with this desire. This is great. The main thing is not to give up. In her room, the heroine laid out the papers. The events in the past followed a sequential order. The last thing that happened was becoming the Emperor's personal dog. After that, there was the uprising of the Western Union, then the demolition of the slums, and then the Crown Prince was killed, which was completely unexpected. In her past life, it was Arcana who was accused of committing murder in collusion with the second prince. However, it never became clear who wanted him dead. In the entire situation, it was the Emperor. Words echo in my head. Someday, the time will come to choose between the ruler and his first son, and the future will depend on this choice. Life around Sigrid is so different from the past that it cannot be compared to what was before. The lady will not miss the new reality. This time, she knows what needs to be done. Ciri goes to see Lunatil. It seems she chose the wrong time, because he just got out of the shower. In 10 minutes, he was fully dressed, and the servants made tea. The knight made a difficult decision to transfer to the first guard. She will not transfer immediately, only in the fall, for she has her own reasons for this, which Veramud wants to know about. In addition, the lady wants to convey that she does not need protection, so that no one considers her a confidant of the prince himself. She does not want any misunderstandings. The heroine is interested in why Lunatil was chosen as a confidant. It turns out that they are not connected. The Duke only agrees with part of the ideas and ideology of Sirios. I am simply on his side. Arriving home, the girl greets Seria. She gives her a book with recipes and can't wait to see her in the role of a cook. Before another training session, Alcerto approached him to ask a question that interested him. If he continued to train regularly, he would be able to reach some level. When the girl started, she didn't know if she had any talent, and it seems that the knight himself has nothing that he could do if suddenly nothing works out. The redhead promises that instead of thinking everything through in advance, he will try his best. Ankertna changes the subject, by the way. How are things with you and Marisette lately? The young man tries his best to forgive Ingold, but it is not an easy task. After training, the girl once again came up to him and handed him a bottle of water. Watching this from the sidelines, the friends can only rejoice that their relationship is gradually beginning to improve. Ciri should tell everyone about her plans. The first will be Maurice. Stepping aside, the girl begins to unbutton her shirt. The young man immediately turns scarlet. He asks to stop, because he does not suspect that they want to show him Oro. The man asks not to show the stones so abruptly, because it is a little strange. Nodding, the girl continues. She is going to transfer to the first guard. Before leaving, she will tell everyone about her abilities. Forrest sincerely congratulates his friend. It's rare for someone to go straight from the second squad to the Imperial squad. The knight himself doesn't say anything about himself. After everything he has demonstrated, he could have joined the Imperial squad too. He doesn't want to be held back. He doesn't like competition. But they still see him as a competitor. It becomes clear from the first word that the elder brother is involved in everything, because he is not seen as an heir, constantly being compared with the younger one, to whom all the power will pass. Maurice promises that next time he will tell everything in more detail. For now, they should share the news with everyone else. Leaving, the girl shows her oro. She is the first woman to have such a stone. It cannot be said that she is the best. The Knights of the Western Union are also good. After all, they border on monsters. Practice in battles decides. The center is wary of the West, and the Emperor also uses uncompromising tactics to control the West. They have Utulu Mihas, who is considered the strongest. Ingold heard that he is half a barbarian. She would not want to get involved with such a person. His skills have nothing to do with his pedigree. The fact that his name is widely known in the center is a testament to his outstanding abilities. At the same time, it is a prejudice. Even Ingold herself doesn't like it when rumors circulate, although she often takes part in them. It's time to stop with this. She is changing, and one can be grateful to Sigrid for this. She helped. Elkerto knew that his friend possessed a magic stone, but he simply kept it a secret. She dealt with the monster herself and handed over all the credit to the first squad. The young man sincerely wants to be like Ciri, so he plans to focus on his sword skills. He will be at the same level, and maybe even get better. Someday, they will be able to fight. Maurice is also one of the strongest in the second guard. If not for the current situation, he would also show his skills and get promoted. The image of Lunatil appears in my head. Then, he took the lady before the first dance. If Ciri joins the squad, this also means that she will see him more often. Marquise Fiencia, head of the Western Aristocratic Union, reads the message from the prince. He did not expect to be contacted again. If it were not for the news about the seal at the secret meeting place, the Union would have been helpless. Then the man felt angry because he thought that this was a trick of the Imperial family. But there was no benefit for them in this. Someone gave a note to the Marquis so that they would arrive late for the meeting. Fiencia returns home. No matter what Sirius thinks, he will not be able to overthrow the West. They need support from the Emperor. It is not clear whose side is better to choose. He is forced to wait for the best moment. The prince's main goal was to support the Westerner, who was despised in the center. For him, getting close to the Marquis was an adventure. There was nothing to expect from it. Lunatil advises postponing all conversations until the New Year's celebration, so that the Emperor doesn't find out about anything. The third prince, Rudinol, knocks on the door of the office. He brought documents about the technical inspection before leaving in winter. The young man smiles, assuring that everything will be fine. If everything goes well, he will tell some good story. There is some kind of connection between these two, despite the age difference. It is nice to see their warm relationship. In the Arcan Empire, there live 3 princes. Among them, only 2 were born from the former empress, Sirios and Rudinol, and the third is the son of the one who is the ruler's wife to this day. The former queen died a month after the birth of her youngest child, and the eldest cherishes his brother, because the family is full of enemies, and their greatest enemy is their father. In a few days, Sigrid's friends are planning to arrive at the house. Saria promises that she will prepare the most delicious dessert. She is not entirely confident in herself, but promises that she will practice diligently. Arcana laughs. Her sister has become too self-confident lately, constantly asking for trouble. Her friend asks her to step away for a talk. The girl is interested in the Knights Templar, who originated in Auschwitz. They were mentioned in the history of the Empire. After all, they were the people closest to the Emperor. It turns out that, having received a new promotion along with the rank, the maiden will be one of the most powerful knights. In any case, in the fall, Arcana will no longer be in the house. He will leave it. He will have to leave to begin his path to becoming a magician. He will not return soon, only in the spring. And in 6 months, anything can happen. Sigrid will become a famous knight. Ankarna will also be the only girl who uses the Oro Stone to keep up with popularity. The magician will also return outstanding. That's when they will celebrate together. Having gone to Maurice, the lady finally decides to ask him a question about his brother, to understand how his reluctance to participate in the competition is connected. The story is too murky because everything is quite complicated. From an early age, the elder began to be compared with the younger. They were constantly discriminated against. The father placed great hopes on the one who was supposed to become his successor. The elder became more frank in his words when he realized that he would never be recognized again. No matter what happened, the father put the younger one at risk, and accordingly, more hatred was poured on him. Maurice wanted to escape from home as quickly as possible, so he joined the knights. The young man does not even want to continue the work of the Viscount. This right does not belong entirely to him, for the same reason he does not show his skills. There is a certainty that if the young man had not been born, his brother would have been loved more. The maiden interrupts. Only the Marquis is to blame for the fact that the elder is being discriminated against. The responsibility is on his shoulders. I don't want the young man to take on problems coming from someone else. The hero breathes a sigh of relief. He tells someone about his feelings for the first time. His thoughts calm down a little. What is surprising is that the beauty suddenly became interested in her acquaintance. They had never been so close. He remembers the day when the lady said at night that she had a strange dream that completely threw her off balance. It is impossible to tell the real reason. The young man has simply always been a good person. The brunette thinks that it would be nice to get closer. He is happy that his friend tried to be as honest with him as possible. Sigrid never lied to him. She was always honest, which means she can be counted on. He would like the lady to see him as a wonderful person, but he is not. An offer comes in to come to a tea party, imagining how Rovi and Mari will laugh at him. The hero confidently refuses, in which case they will invite him some other time, this time together with Alcerto. At the tea party, the friends notice that the garden has noticeably changed, noticeably transformed. The wizard living in the house helped transform the flowers. He did a perfect job. The desserts go well with the garden. Marisette doesn't understand how her friend found out about what's popular. It's all thanks to Saria, the same girl who was saved from the hands of the Duke. The girl has talent. No one suspected that she could do it. Arcana couldn't imagine that his little sister would make desserts that would please someone from the aristocracy. If so, she should be sent somewhere where she could develop. The girl drags her brother away so that he doesn't interfere. The tea still needs some work, but it's a decent drink. Siri is worried about the fact that she invited Maurice and Alcerto earlier and didn't treat them properly. They drank tea without dessert. Siri will be very busy when she moves to the first guard. She will not have time to rest. It is better to have fun while you have the opportunity. Marie hopes that the fact of the transition does not mean that they will no longer be friends. When her friend has free time, they can sometimes spend time together. Smiling, Rohengrin expresses her agreement. They will all get ready. In about a week, the girl plans to tell everyone else about the news. Time is running out. Autumn. The day comes when Arcana leaves for the tower for training. He asks to take care of his sister. Hugging goodbye, the young man gets into the carriage. Siri tries on a new uniform. What she wore in the past was not very good quality. She was always trying to save money. She did not even think about spending money on high quality. After the uniforms were packed, Lunatil suggested moving on to the next dish. Even though it was late, she wanted to buy ice cream to celebrate the distribution, her eyes lighting up with joy. The beauty continues to receive everything from Veramud, so she promises that if she suddenly needs something, she can call at any time. The brunette cannot stand it and starts laughing. You are talking too seriously. There's one last dish left. Since they ate something cold, they should go and train to warm up. The lady happily agrees, because she has prepared a new strategy for how to beat the knight. The girl is greeted warmly in the squad. Earl, the platoon commander, is the first to introduce himself. The others just want to see her skills. At 20, no one can possess Oro. The heroine agrees to train. The commander and Lunatil remain behind. The guards want to catch the newcomer, but there is no point in interfering. Every barrel of honey is diluted with tar. Sigrid will be fine, but more importantly, the Crown Princess's birthday is coming soon. She needs special protection. and winter is coming soon, so there shouldn't be any monsters or barbarians crossing the border. The fight begins and ends very soon. The beauty deals with her opponents one after another, because the oro is used quite effectively. The knights are of two different levels, so the gap is noticeable. The entire first guard detachment are rivals who competed and fought when Ciri served in the 6th. They lost. Only Veramud managed to defeat the lady. They are on the same side, and the man is no longer her enemy. Approaching, he says that they should begin preparing for the princess's ball. But first, they should receive a distinctive mark. Soon, they arrived at the lady's chambers. The knight kneels and bows his head, but she is told that there is no need to be so helpful. His Highness and her life were saved, for which she wishes to convey a gift, which the servant brings in a small chest. The princess heard that something bad happened between her and the crown prince. Ciri does not even dare to think about hatred. Because the man can be understood, the lady wants to call the knight by his name, since they already know each other. Veramud should be like Ankurtna. The blonde sees that they have a fairly casual relationship. It's definitely worth it. It's time to go away. In the corridor, the gentleman asks to keep the meeting secret. There is one last thing left to do. They have not yet held a celebration for the new recruit. There was a meeting in the evening, and in the morning, the lady had a splitting headache. She drank too much. Despite the pain, the knight went to work, the girl had a day off, and she didn't know about it. Veramud usually doesn't rest either. He is with the crown prince. It is not clear what kind of relationship they have, but they are definitely close to each other. Even if the girl didn't know that there had been a war in the Imperial family, even in the past, it would be strange that she thought that the Emperor trusted Lunatil, but at that time, she was too blinded by jealousy. One of the knights approaches Ankurtna. He was eagerly awaiting news of her arrival. He is glad that the lady is so good. He is interested in what connects the lady with the captain. They have a strange relationship. He asks without a purpose. They just look like a couple. The blonde snorts with displeasure. In the place of the young man, if a new knight came to the squad, the first thing that would worry her is her abilities. The brunette doesn't know what to answer to this. Very soon, he will see everything for himself when the next fight takes place. At another tea party, the lady tells her friends everything. Of course, the behavior is outrageous. However, some people really do need communication skills. The heroine is more irritated by the fact that she was mistaken for Veramud's girl. Misunderstandings with him are inevitable, because the young man is famous for being quite skillful at flirting with women. Ciri wonderfully dealt with what she had to face. The best skill is to be able to ignore useless things and move on. The heroine wants to ask what the relationship is between the crown princess and the knight. They are close. The two are cousins. The woman had completely forgotten about it because she wasn't interested. Everything falls into place. Ever since Ankurtna joined the First Guard, the discussion about women in armor has not died down in society. People want to know more about the lady. Maurice never responded to the messages, the girl wrote to him recently. He returned to his home in the capital. His father is mortally ill. Ciri is busy with her promotion in the guard, so they didn't tell her anything, so as not to make her worry. It would be best to pay a visit, but only after a written warning. Rohengrin promises that he will find out the address and send it. Marisette is stunned by the good news that she and Alcerto have finally made peace. She herself could not have imagined that they would ever be able to make peace, all thanks to her friend's advice. The girls ask Ankurtna not to worry. From now on, they will tell her all the news much more often so that she doesn't get discouraged. Better yet, next time they gather to gossip, Ingold will prepare the best hour and desserts. Maurice is in his father's room. His father asks him again if he has changed his mind. He repeats the same thing. The older brother can handle everything much better. Leaving the chambers, the hero immediately encounters Forrest, who is even more hostile than usual. He rudely remarks that one should not delude oneself with illusions about the transfer of the title. The death of the father will not solve anything. The brunette tries to justify himself, but deception won't work. He's always just been watching what's happening, never trying to get involved. Hypocrisy needs to end. It will be possible to have a frank conversation at any time when a man desires it. When he goes outside the corridor, he exhales. He is tired of what is happening. the feeling that no one wants to listen. A letter arrived from Sigrid. She says that she will come to visit. She is the one who listens to Maurice and trusts him more than anyone else. In the morning, Ankurtna was brought by carriage straight to the estate, and Foresta's older brother met her at the door. They led her into the living room, as she was an important guest, and they brewed her a luxurious tea. Maurice is not ready to go out. He is ashamed that his father raised him like this. The lady says that she will wait then. It will not be difficult for her. Her voice lowers. So that means you did not come to me. Forrest's figure is visible on the stairs. The girl spoke with the family's eldest son, since the youngest did not immediately learn about the unexpected visit. Leading him into the room, he apologizes from the doorway for his brother's rudeness. The woman asks how the head of the family is doing. The friend did not tell her everything right away because he thought she would be too busy. The situation is bad. The man will have to come back to the estate in a week to prepare for the funeral. Before he dies, he would like to convince him that the decision regarding the inheritance will not change. No one is listening. The heroine remembers that according to Imperial laws, the eldest son would have priority over the succession. If a father were to pass on his power to a younger son, it would be considered illegal unless something happened to the eldest. The girl's eyes reflect horror. She puts two and two together. She realizes that the master ordered Maurice to kill his older brother in order to legally take his place. The idea is to go to the first one, the squad that is closest to the emperor. The young man is quite diligent and talented, so he will deserve a promotion without much effort. For now, not everyone treats him with respect. If he rises higher, many will become more respectful. It is not at all necessary to take on the title of Viscount. This can be avoided. Father was also a knight. Tell the younger one that it is for advancement in service. He may sacrifice to some extent. The second option is to run away. But I don't want to act so heartlessly when the Marquis is dying. Ciri amazes with her intelligence. I wonder who her parents are. But she herself doesn't remember them. They didn't have the opportunity to raise a daughter. She wants to think exactly that way. Raised in an orphanage, the girl was later moved to a temporary detention center after turning 8 and was sold to a circus. The circus wasn't the worst option. Other children were sold to far worse places. But there she managed to learn to wield a sword. The trainer's connections allowed her to join the service at 13. Maurice's story doesn't seem so bad in comparison. The blonde asks me not to say that. In fact, she envies the fact that the man grew up with love and support. They know how to give it to others. I am different. I realized long ago that it is difficult for me to express feelings. She was lucky to have met Maurice. She is grateful to the Forrest family that they were able to raise such a person. Sigrid is also kind. Such words are pleasant to her. However, they confuse her. The knight also expresses joy that he has such a friend. Sharing kindness is always a good thing, because there is not enough of it in the world. After the conversation, Maurice bumps into his older brother, who sarcastically remarks that the conversation has dragged on for too long. The only way out is a duel. The young man will die at the hands of the younger one. You have finally shown your true colors. In the Crown Prince's chambers, there is talk of a new demon appearing. His Majesty is delaying support, using the powerful forces of the West as a real pretext. Curtis is asking for help. They are in a hurry. Marquise Fiancia would like to meet again, and very much hopes for it. Lunatil understands that there is no other way out. The gentleman has only seen a demon with magical powers of this level in books. He recovers quickly and should be killed with one attack. Only the first squad has a chance of winning, but they are controlled by the Emperor. Irios cannot give an order unless he wants to end up behind bars. The gentleman is keeping a low profile for a reason. He wants to strengthen the center, and they won't provide assistance unless there is damage in the West. It's high time to lend a helping hand. Lunatil had an idea. Already at night, the prince, together with the knight and several people, set out on a journey. They enter the Dudayan region. That's where they were going. We're almost there. Previously, a decision was made to go with the volunteers. The West was in danger, while support for the centrists was being discussed. Sirios was not against it, but helping the West would mean treason against the Emperor. The young man cannot guarantee the number of people, however. He will try to discuss the matter with colleagues. In any case, the Duke himself will definitely be on the mission. In the morning, many knights saw the announcement that a demon had appeared. Many immediately realized that they would not be able to defeat the monster. so they would not go on a campaign with the captain. In the end, only Ankartna went. She wants to help. Entering the main estate of the Westerners, Veramud introduces himself and his companion. The men are surprised. They have heard that the knight is quite the ladies' man, but dragging a girl to the north is too much, which is why the prince's sincerity is not so noticeable to others. It turns out that Sigrid has Oro. The Marquis will consider reinforcements of 1.5 people. He knows nothing about the girl. In any case, the help is invaluable. The guys are given a room to rest. Considering that knights are not particularly welcome, it is lucky that there are at least 2 beds. Ciri chooses the one next to the window, where she will be more comfortable. Lunatil moves the girl further to the bed. It will be warmer there. He asked about the choice purely out of politeness. There is no need to listen to unfair demands from the host, especially if they ask for sacrifices. Ciri should not be willing to die to save the insignificant. The lady laughs. It's funny to hear that what she died for in the past is called trash. She lies down on the bed. Finally, she can rest from the road. In the morning, the travelers were treated to breakfast. It was not very rich. If they had support, they would have been served something richer. The situation in the West is so bad. Since the Emperor ascended the throne, there has been constant pressure on the West, and he is the one who is in charge. The new year has proven even more dire, with the harvest situation such that supplies to the regular troops are inconsistent, yet all reports of aid are being ignored. The two are led into the main hall, where Uturu is located. The knight has heard a lot about him, but seeing him for the first time, the maiden understands that he is truly in a wonderful form, and Veramud is frail compared to him. The conversation starts off unfavorably. The Duke doesn't understand how many bodies will need to be sent to the center to be helped. Lunatil speaks up. He should watch his words. The new type of monster has one eye. They managed to cut off his leg, but the recovery period is not so fast. It takes more than an hour. They failed to set the monster on fire. Master Oro was injured. The damage is done. They lure horses and feed on them. They keep away from the western territories. Ankartna is written off. Uturu would be grateful if she did not participate, but she is against it. Since the demon is recovering, you need to destroy it in one blow. There is no technique for cutting the throat. You will have to do it yourself. Ciri will do it. When a woman enters the ring, she plans to demonstrate her technique. Perhaps they will believe her. Not everyone understands how Oro will be used. If there is no physical contact, women can only chat. Knightly skills are unique and can impress anyone. A lady may not know if she can demonstrate her worth, but she will try to do her best and show her best side. The beauty cannot use too much Oro. She waits for the right moment and strikes forward with her sword, throwing back a wave of force. The scarecrow does not change in the moment. A moment later, the target falls apart into 2 equal parts. Lunatil is amazed and wants to know a little more, because this is the solution to their problem with the monster. The heroine keeps her technique a secret. Uturu admits that it is a worthy tactic. He is interested in how he will win. The knight used only a small part of her power. Using all of it, she is going to defeat the monster. Oro is not a weak thing, and with the help of 2 more partners, victory will be theirs. The Lord agrees to try the tactic. Veramud agrees with the expressed hope. The Duke cannot doubt Ciri, given that she has shown her power. The young man smiles at his girlfriend, whispering that he is proud. Smiling back, she quietly says, "Thank you." That same day they head into battle. You have to be pretty close to use the technique effectively. The head is too high. Finishing the kill without the necessary height is unrealistic. A good plan appears in her head. The girl turns to the Oro master who was wounded. She states that she will need help. They begin the mission. The blonde will throw energy. The others won't have to do too much. Lunatil and Uthuru are bait. The monster has become noticeably more furious. They shine brightly for the monster. The knight offers the brunette to leave, but he laughs. He is going to fight. To be honest, he is irritated by the attitude towards him. The monster rushes forward. Despite its enormous size, it is quite agile. Sir Matthew concentrates the power of Oro to throw the knight up. The young man was given the opportunity to refuse, but he agreed. He wants to help even in a deplorable state. The woman uses Oro. The monster is pierced. Half of his head falls off. Uturu has never seen such strength. Everything turned out as well as possible. However, Oro was injured. Secret feels incredible pain. There is blood on her chest. Her body is rapidly falling down. Lunatil runs up and picks up Ankertna. They accomplished the mission. The blonde knew they wouldn't leave her to die. I appreciate your trust, but what would you do without me? The maiden remembers that she almost began to lose consciousness. Veramud does not suspect that if he had not shouted her name, the sword would have flown down on the knight. It is good that no harm was done. The gentleman is observing the monster's body. No signs of regeneration have been detected. He needs to wait to be sure. They will freeze within an hour. Only Lunatil thinks so. The owner of the Oro was brought to Ankertny. When he heard about the operation, he was very excited. He did not understand how he could help, and he was lucky that he was also assigned some of the responsibilities. Matthew was a great fit. The lady asks not to thank her, because everything did not depend on her. Despite these words, the knight wanted her to understand what she did for the entire West. The victory is celebrated. People are drinking and having fun. The beauty looks at the table with food in surprise. She just did what she had to do. There should be no lavish festivities and congratulations. Veramud shrugs. Usually it's always nice to get praise for something you've done. There's nothing strange about supporting people. Ciri created an atmosphere where everyone was happy, and that was something to be proud of. Ankertna smiled and admitted that she was pleased with what was happening. Uter approaches with a request to talk about something. He speaks in all seriousness, getting down on one knee. The man asks the lady to become the mother of his children. An ominous silence hangs in the room as he continues to speak. Only the strongest can survive in the West. They will definitely be able to give birth to a strong child. Veramud wants to start screaming. Ciri refuses outright. The man apologizes for his past rudeness, but that's not the point. The woman doesn't plan to ever have children. She's proud of her profession and wouldn't want to give up everything just for a family. Uturu apologizes. He is grateful for the honesty. If anything, he is always in touch. The lady can still change her mind. Life is big. Lunatil suggests leaving. There is a frosty wind outside. They want to quickly go to the room. The couple is stopped by the Duke. Before that, he wants to take a few minutes of attention. Having received great help, he would like to offer his apologies. He did not admit it right away, but in front of him was a skilled knight with a great future ahead of her. Thanks to Ankertay, he realized that he was getting older. His worldview was becoming conservative. The lady was glad that she was recognized. If you really think so, I will accept your apologies. The Duke wants to talk to Veramud alone. The girl leaves. She cannot help but notice the fact that as soon as the work was completed, their attitude changed dramatically. In the past, the West suffered enormous damage due to the attack of that very monster. No one wanted to volunteer to help their allies. Support arrived late, and the second detachment was sent late. By the time the detachment arrived, significant damage had already been done to parts of the country, and the famous Utulu Mihas was also seriously wounded. Previously, the prince had not been interested in the West, but the situation had changed. It remains a mystery why Irios decided to speak out openly. He was recruiting volunteers and was planning to send them along with Veramud. The only thing that could influence the man was his wife, who remained alive. During the incident, more than one demon appeared. The attacks were planned. It's scary to think what would have happened if the princess had died as a result of the attack. The young man would have been cautious, believing that everything was planned by external forces and that it could have directly affected the West. Then, Fenia was mentioned because it was a platform for negotiations with the West. If in the past everything had led to a refusal of aid, the aristocratic union would have rebelled. In the new life, the rebellion will not happen. On the day of the attack on the princess, the knight went to help in order to repay Lunatil's debt. But all this turned into something more. Everything around has changed, but the feeling remains that the future will be the same, although it should change much more, because everything around is changing thanks to Ankertny. Standing on the street, the lady sees Sir Micah's. He speaks informally again. You need to use respectful speech. She was told about this before. Virgo is waiting for her friend. It will soon be even colder, so it's better to stand by the fire. This way, you can at least warm your hands. The flame warms pleasantly. The knight studies the lady. Until now, whoever came to the West were inexperienced greenhouse plants without skills. It's nice to see that the beauty is different. I've never met anyone like her before. Utulu becomes like a country bumpkin with the way he thinks. The heroine wonders if it's true that in the West they propose the way he did. It seems like the man was simply proposing to conceive a child without getting married. Nobody from the center usually wants to have anything to do with them. The subordinate made a remark to the master. The latter realized that he had behaved rudely. In order to make amends, the knight will do what he is asked to do. In that case, there is an idea. Lunatil promises to convey his greetings to Irios, and his wife, Fiencia, hopes that he was not suspected of the attack. He would never have done such a low thing. The attack was caused by a third party. The West has been controlled by the center for quite some time. It's time to move closer. The gentleman wants to meet with the crown prince. A battle between two masters takes place. The assembled people are rooting for Mikas. He cannot lose, even if the forces are almost equal. The man is terrified. The maiden is throwing out too much oro energy. Sigrid wants to end the battle. When she hears a scream, Lunatil told her not to do that. Mika still doesn't understand how the sword ended up at his throat. The fight was good. The knight makes his way forward, asking how the maiden is feeling. The young man pulls her along with him. There are too many questions inside. It is not clear why Veramud is so angry. He considers the knight stupid because he spoke about safety just a day ago. The woman understands that she really did forget that it wasn't she who should become an ally of the West. But on the contrary, she shouldn't have forgotten her duties and fought with Utulu. The heroine understands and is ready to accept any punishment. With her head down, she waits for the verdict to be given. Pressing him against the wall, Veramud asks what they think about him. His head is a mess. He snorts. I couldn't get angry over such a trifle. The point is that the girl could very well break down. She needs to get rid of the habit. Otherwise, the only thing that awaits her is death. The confidence that everything will be fine made the heroine forget about everything. She will try not to throw words around, and the man remembers that the heroine is ready to accept any punishment. He sharply hits her on the forehead. She rubs the bruised area because she did not expect something like this. Sigrid never realized when she used the technique she was skilled. If at some point the sword technique failed, the body would fly apart. Promising that she will try, the heroine asks how the meeting with the Marquis went. He wants to talk to Irios, and the decision and the rest will directly depend on the prince. Maurice is still in the main estate of the forests. He does not know if he will be able to return there after his father passes away. The man reached the estate, only he sleeps most of the time, then is in his right mind. The brother called the elder for a talk. It was better to finish this once and for all. They needed to say goodbye to the master together. Entering the room, they met Mother. The young man directly states that he will not accept the title. He does not care whether his brother dies or not. He does not intend to take on such responsibility. First of all, the hero will join the Imperial Knights and receive a title. It will not be high, but it will have a beneficial effect on the family. Maurice doesn't care what anyone thinks about it. He wants to get along with his brother. His father orders the younger one to get lost, and only Amos remains in the room. Leaving the chambers, the man advises to run away. The brunette is in a panic. He did not think that everything would come to this. They hoped that they would not have to run. A single puzzle is coming together in his head. If he manages to obtain the title of knight, Maurice will become an enemy of his own family. His father's cold voice is stuck in his head. The guy almost escaped. They caught up with him. He couldn't escape. Amos, who volunteered to inspect the surroundings, comes forward. His heart is beating wildly. It will all be over. Forrest approaches the tree, throws a bag of money, and shouts to the squad that he hasn't found anyone. It's better to look in the other direction and bring the younger one to the master. Ankertna and Veramud are still in the north. She thought that after the monster, they would immediately return home. The road was covered with snow. Alas, there was no choice. They are in no hurry. The Virgin reminds them that they won't be alone together. Because Utulu is coming nearby, there will be no hunting. The snow is falling impenetrably. They need to find a place to take shelter in it. The three go into the den. There is a bear. He is obviously hibernating, but will soon wake up since strangers have appeared. They are killing prey. The body is enough to satisfy the hunger of all the people in the capital. He is huge. The center always tells the West to reduce the size of the Western army. But if they do so, when the monsters attack, they will all die. The knights of the capital walk along the flower road and do not think about anything. Utulu hears Lunatil's indignation. He objects to the fact that the warriors from the capital are good, but he knows that not all are like the two who were sent to support. Ciri doesn't get involved in conversations. She thinks there's nothing wrong with arguing until it turns into cursing. This helps her understand the problems. If there's a fight, then it's better to resolve the issue externally. The brunette snorts. He doesn't plan to change anything, so he wraps it up. He has no reason to fight, to waste his precious energy. Mikas intervenes in the duo's conversation. They are quite close. As for a boss and a subordinate, the beauty explains that in the first detachment, everyone has this level of closeness with their leader. Virgo was a little mistaken. Not everyone has such a relationship. They are just friends. Veramud shouts that he has become cold, thus showing dissatisfaction with the status. In this case, they are best friends. It seems the wind has died down. It is cold outside, but it is quite possible to continue on the road. The three set off back. The knights are incomparable in bear hunting, and they will finally be able to fill the acorns with meat. Before this, everyone had only eaten potatoes. Blue-Eyed watches his partner eat, remembering her words and sincerely hoping that they will be able to become more than just friends. It's time to head back to the center. We've grown attached to the knights, even though we hated them recently. It's good that we managed to get along and everything was resolved. Ankertny is given credit. If it weren't for the Oro technique, it would have taken a long time. For the first time, he had the chance to see how monsters use magic. The young man also noticed a new technique during training. The woman is not just practicing. She is increasing her strength to defeat Veramud. From the moment they return to the capital, they will be very busy. They should be prepared. Rumors spread. The topic became the beauty of the female knight, and there was even more talk about the mastery of words. She reached the level of a master at the age of 20 and killed a monster with just one blow. Such outstanding individuals did not exist. Invitations from aristocrats kept pouring in, but the lady firmly decided to send refusals so that nothing would interfere with the work process. One of the guards advises to communicate politely. The blonde nods. It makes sense that she needs to talk to Marisette and Rohengrin. She wants to ask what is the best way to proceed and ask about the second guard. Before returning from the west, knights had been hanging around the lady, but it seemed that fewer and fewer in the Order of Imperial Knights were comfortable being with Ankertna. In the second detachment, the girl meets Marie. She wants to hear all the details of the story. Alcerto and Maurice are not there. The former is on a day off, and Forrest got into trouble. The Marquis died not long ago. He won't be able to visit his youngest son. The situation in the territories is not the best. His friend will soon return to the capital. Then they will talk to him. It turns out there are rumors that Utulu proposed. Believing them, in an atmosphere of intoxicating victory, the man romantically confessed his love and asked for her hand and heart. I have to disappoint, because the knight offered to have a child without even marrying him. Ingold is furious. As a sign of reconciliation, Michas fought with Ankertna. The girl doesn't plan to enter into a relationship. She never saw herself as a lady, Rovi laughs. No one is stopping her from thinking about the future. It can change quickly. By transferring to the first guard, the heroine left the second squad with more grounds for rumors. It's better to be careful, because popularity isn't always a good thing. By helping Lunatil in the west, Ankertna has officially sided with the Crown Prince. No matter how much she denies it, she will have to resist the forces of the center and their pressure. Maintaining neutrality won't work. Time has flown by while we were talking. Evening is coming. Next time we should get together again. The girl goes home. She passes the alley where Maurice lives. The girls said that they would visit him later. However, the anxiety does not subside. The decision is made instantly. Ciri turns into the street. The servants must know when the master will return from the capital. There is no light in the house. The heroine is about to leave. When a frightened maid opens the door for her, a strange atmosphere reigns inside. Sir Forrest is waiting for you. Maurice is sitting on a chair. He is covered in blood. He seems to be unconscious. The young man opens his eyes. They ask him the reason for what happened. Who did this to you? The girl asks in a raised voice whether the boy's brother did it, and he, in a barely audible voice, replies, "It was my father." Maurice returned calmly, even though everything ended badly. Siri can't stand it and hugs the young man. She's not afraid of getting bloody because nothing else matters to her. There is a person who can understand and feel the pain of what happened. And this is the knight. The servants are preparing a bath. You can go clean yourself of dirt and blood while your friend makes food. The man thought he would die in a fight with a bloodhound. The father really wanted his son dead. The girl came to a friend's estate, and when she saw the devastation, she became a little worried. It turns out that the chase stopped halfway when the Marquis died. But they also had a hand in the mansion in the capital, which is why there was a pogrom there. Before the death of his master, the knight declared that he categorically did not intend to accept the title. It seems he considered it a betrayal. The second son became an obstacle for the firstborn, and they wanted to kill him. Having reached his estate, the hero lost his horse in the process, so getting to the capital was problematic. He did not know that the Dai forests had such connections to completely ruin his life. The hero is having a hard time, so his friend is going to continue to help him. She will stand guard tonight while he goes to get some rest. Don't worry, it won't be difficult. At the moment of persecution, it seemed that everything was over and no one close to me remained. My father, who had always treated me warmly, tied my hands and feet. My brother would tirelessly and zealously guard his place. The trembling stopped only when I was near Siri. The lady returns to her estate. Saria reports that a letter has arrived. It has a seal with a red double-headed eagle. For a second, her face turns pale. It is from the Emperor. The time of the audience is written inside. No other information. Lunatil is already waiting in the hall. He couldn't just come either. The lady directly clarifies whether the brunette has come on the matter that is troubling the beauty. The knight has been sent an invitation to the Imperial Palace. It is possible that the heroine is being called to thank her for her expedition to the West. No one knows what lies behind this. The reason could be anything. Lunatil announces that the Emperor wants to make the girl his right hand. He can't explain it any other way. It's straightforward, but the person close to the prince has no idea. During the last meeting with His Majesty, the knight felt ill. She was pale again. The young man asks because he is worried. However, it is not at all necessary to tell all the details. Siri is asked if she is afraid of the Emperor. He never frightened her. On the contrary, he was trusted blindly. When the betrayal became clear, her body and soul were destroyed under torture due to a false accusation. There is no doubt. The lady is confident that she will not be betrayed again. The situation from the past will definitely not be repeated. I am fine. Don't worry. Looking into his friend's eyes, Lunatil can't help but believe the words. He finishes the examination, and as a token of gratitude, the girl can go on a date with him. The young man leaves. Initially, he came because the lady took a day off, and he thought that she was sick. He was worried. Everything was planned from the moment the campaign ended. The Emperor was gradually approaching Siri. He thought that the West would act with the prince. Thus, he wanted to shackle Sirios more tightly. From childhood, his father's blade was aimed at him. He thought that he would die at the hands of the master. Just like his older brother and mother, he was entrusted with the duties of a duke. Like a hostage, the youth's peer became empress. She didn't touch the princes. Although her son is still a parasite, she has no political interests. Everything will change if Ariel gives birth to a boy. There is nothing to worry about for now. On the day of the audience, the maiden arrived at the castle. Sigrid was no longer afraid of anything. Holding her head high, she entered and greeted the ruler. The man offers to sit down and talk. In the West, she proved to be a great service to the entire empire when she defeated the monster. There is some confusion inside. It is not clear whether she should, as before, revere the emperor. Because he is an ordinary person, there is no feeling of awe. Of course, the lady was not called without reason. There is one request. She recently transferred to the First Guard. It is strange that her talent was not noticed earlier. There are rumors that rebellious forces have emerged against the imperial family. The authority has fallen, and the rebels will be detained with the help of qualified personnel. The man knows what needs to be done. He wants to revive the Akshverder. Under the first ruler, this organization united 8 warriors. They became the force of Bahanat. With their help, an empire was founded. They were renamed the Guard and existed for a long time. The maiden asks again in surprise. The best solution is to truly assemble the Oxschwerter again as a personal guard. He wants Sigrid to be the first to join the army. Will you become my sword? In the past, such an organization was not created. The maiden knew that changing the present would affect the future. But she did not suspect that such a turn of events would happen. The lady swore to herself that she would not choose the emperor as her master, that she would not take the same path. Getting down on one knee, she asks him to change his mind. The man is dissatisfied, and she has to assign him something else. Instead of a meeting of the secret organization, the master ordered the third prince to be guarded. All the courtiers are aware that he is not distinguished by diligence. Lunatil meets him on the way. He is interested in how the audience went. Nothing special happened. The lady got off with an easy task. The brunette snorts. The emperor has placed the master as his son's personal guard. Ciri still has a few things to do. People are always worried about her. Please be careful. The girl constantly resorts to extreme measures. If everyone around her worked as hard as she did, they would have died long ago. This is the sad truth. Being appointed a nanny is an insult. It's good when they take care of you, but a lady will try to work with what she has. She controls the situation. She won't let you tie her hands and feet. It's not that she lacks the ability to trust others. The heroine never felt disgusted when her friends were kind to her and offered a helping hand. If so, Lunatil asks to trust him. For a boss, there is no better subordinate. But if Oro breaks down, like the girl herself, it will be hard for the master to lose her. The girl will try to do what she can, at least the minimum before her friend leaves. She tells him new information that she learned from the emperor. Ciri refused to participate in the cursed organization, so as punishment, she was assigned to the prince. When others receive the invitation, there will be few knights who refuse. The guard, personally created for the emperor, is special. It will obey only his majesty, and the position and honor will turn the knights' heads. The aristocrats will oppose, however. The lord does not need the permission of the others. The revival of Oxschwerter will certainly take place. They will kill all enemies, and the crown prince will become the first. Arriving at the master's office, the young man bumps into Ravis, his older brother, who greets him. They hadn't seen each other for quite a while. He didn't tell her to arrange a surprise. Mel came with him. Veramud has some business, so the Duke will leave. He apologizes for the behavior of the younger one. The young man had no intention of apologizing for his behavior. The Emperor was going to create a personal squad. Ciri was offered to join. She refused. She takes orders extremely seriously, so she had to agree. And because of her refusal, she was appointed as the third prince's nanny. An order out of revenge is not the most mature behavior. Ankertna will be under the protection of Sirios, since the situation is taking a turn. She refused to obey. The young man realized that the girl was perfect for the role of bait. Attacks would begin on her. If the master lost such a master, the empire would have a hard time in the future. Since there are rebellious aristocrats, the emperor will not be able to retain a large number of workers, in which case, one cannot help but think about the worst-case scenario. Fortunately, the organization was discovered before it was formed. A message arrived from Rudinol. He crossed the east and is heading north. The boy left the lands of Rava. The likelihood of death in extreme conditions increases, but the emperor did not allow him to take the master of Oro with him. It's funny that a man behaves this way, thinking only about himself. Irios does everything possible for his brother, even if he doesn't have enough strength. Whatever father is planning, he will not be allowed to cross the line. But since Rudinol has no political power, they will not try to eliminate him first. Officially, the prince has not yet joined forces with the West. It is worth concentrating on the threats to Sirios and his life. Lunatil is asked to become an interlocutor for Ariel. The girl will soon give birth, but due to business, the young man cannot spend time with her. The brunette laughs, since he will be delivering a declaration of love instead of his cousin's husband. The princess feels fine. There is nothing to worry about. The heroine is busy folding paper flowers. They look like real ones. The brunette thinks it would be a good idea to use the crafts at a winter event. They will replace the real ones to save money. Ravis returned to the capital. He wanted to arrange a surprise. There is no reason to argue. The master has become a duke. The young man does not take care of himself enough. He went west with only Sigrid, not understanding what awaits them there. He didn't come just like that, but at Sirios's request. I wonder what they talked about, since that's how things are. The husband won't be able to visit the girl before nightfall. He has some important business. Ariel is observant. She is her husband's political partner, and the agreement with the West was achieved thanks to efforts in secular society. Having learned of the squad's revival, the woman asked to call Sigrid. She invited her to chat. They weren't expecting any particularly important conversation that would change everything. The third prince will be guarded by a master, which means he will have to meet with the empress. There are probably rumors that the boy does not have a good character. Despite everything, the mother does nothing. Ariel tried for a long time to unravel the plan, but when the child was on the way, she began to understand that the lady came to an unfamiliar place at an early age. It was hard for her to be far from home. It may seem that she has folded her hands and given up power, but this is done for the sake of protecting what is most valuable. Those living in the palace are often concerned with obtaining non-physical strength. Since they managed to discuss everything important, the lady decides to ask what the girl thinks about Veramud. He is strong and can be relied upon. She can trust him with her rear, although in the past she would have answered differently. Ariel asks to take care of his cousin. He needs someone to be there because he often does not think about his own safety and security. He has to hide his feelings, but he himself will do anything for his people. Ciri nods. I will do everything possible. Arriving home, the maiden meets Saria. She prepares food. The beauty was given a coral that grows on the bottom of the sea. This was done by the princess, an incredible lady, since she achieved this. The question arises whether anyone had asked about the night while she was away. The time was approaching when Arcana was supposed to return. Very soon, in the spring, he should finish his exams. The girl trusts her assistant because she is sure that he will soon be home. Winter, surprisingly, drags on unusually long. In the ice tower, Arcana asks the teacher when he will be appointed. Scott is unhappy. Don't you want a title to leave the tower? The young man did not study in order to bury himself in research, acquire magic, and leave the place of study. A great responsibility. No one uses power for personal gain. The disagreement is fierce. The limits of abilities cannot be understood if one remains in the tower. The power of the masters is not much different from that of the mages. Usually, wizards want to fully understand their abilities, but this won't happen if they don't go out into the world. Tell me, have you studied this issue? There's a lot to study in the world, but all the prohibitions are imposed for protection. The restrictions of the magicians will disappear. But then, there will definitely be a person in power who will concentrate all the power in himself. The question of returning before spring remains open. Ivan, the Empress's youngest son, constantly behaves inappropriately. He throws food, skips classes, and even uses a guard as a dog. The previous guard thought that there was no worse job than working in the palace. Enkurtna meets a boy. He tries to hit her with a fork from the doorway. Obviously, he misses. The Empress came especially to see everything. She heard that Ciri became an Oro master at the age of 20. This is truly amazing. The lady is indeed younger than the Emperor. If she weren't wearing a tiara, a symbol of power, she could be mistaken for a young aristocrat. The boy shouts that he doesn't want to have anything to do with the new knight. The mother pushes her son away, repeating that his father's orders cannot be questioned. He better make an effort and study much harder. From the very beginning, the hero began throwing himself at everyone and throwing tantrums that he would not obey. Even when a personal teacher arrived, he refused to study and ran out into the street. The beauty meets him in the garden. She says directly that she will not force him to do anything. It is cool outside. The boy orders him to give up his cloak. I refuse. The way the new guard behaves begins to irritate him. Not wanting to be around, the young man runs away. Nothing works. And a moment later, Ciri catches up with him again. The blonde doesn't follow him to punish him. Her shift is over. It's time to hand over the duties to another person. Later, she meets Maurice, who came to the Imperial Guard. He heard that his friend was assigned to guard the prince. I was worried, because his character is known. Shrugging her shoulders, the lady reports that nothing special happened. The boy just threw a cup at her, skipped class, and hid in different places of the palace. Enkurtna did not stop him, but chased him. Ciri asks about Maurice's relationship with Avis, but is unable to answer. On the way, she meets Lunatil, who has unpleasant memories of the boy who is so close to her. Without thinking it necessary to delay, the heroine introduces her friend. She is leaving to turn in her shift, and while she is gone, the two can chat quietly. The young man offers his condolences on the loss of his father. Lunatil himself grew up in a single-parent family, but he has an outstanding older brother. Returning back, the heroine notices a strange tension. It is obvious that Veramud did not apologize for the way he behaved at the ball when he was arbitrarily taken away, although Maurice invited him to dance. Ankurtna forces an apology, after which the two leave. The captain stares after them. It seems that they are on good terms. The gentleman is not in the mood, so a sparring match will happen. In the first guard, everyone treats the knight with respect. Although before, on the contrary, they neglected her, Forrest is also going to try to move to the first squad. He will have an exam. In fact, the brunette arrived at the castle to fill out an application. Ciri believes that he will succeed because this man is outstanding, and his future will be even more wonderful. Virgo speaks the truth. Support is important, especially when something important happens. Then the hero could not really think and did not look very good either. Initially, Maurice was truly worried that there would be difficulties with the prince, but upon seeing his friend, he immediately remembered something else. Ciri would have regretted not turning into the alley to visit Forrest that day. She wants to be there for her friend in difficult times. In the past, he came to the cell when no one else wanted to see the knight, when everyone believed that she had committed a conspiracy. By choosing a path that would ensure that there would be no more regrets, the beauty ensured that everything would be fine for them. There's a training session going on in the second guard, and Alkerto's friends ask him if they can go out for a drink, but he repeatedly refuses, as if he's suddenly become polite. Maurice's older brother will come to the capital to officially become the heir. The young man will not be present at the ceremony. He plans to prepare for the exam in the first detachment. Alkerto wonders if it will be considered a failure if the young man suddenly fails the exam. It is easy to give up when a person falls, but this is not the case with Maurice, because he will train hard. His friend also wants to try. The young man is worried about Sigrid. Guarding the third prince is not an easy task at all. The girl spends time with the boy, asking if he is bored, and looks as if he is bored. It's cold in the barn. The girl owns Oro and she's fine. The young man jumps up. He heard there aren't many Oro owners. The beauty demonstrates her strength. They ask to touch her, but such is nature, she can't touch her. The stone can only be used if you have the core, which will appear through training, but the prince is not at all happy with this situation. The hero reaches out to take the stone. Moments flash before his eyes when they wanted to take him away in prison. The blue-eyed man understands that he needs to study. He will ask his mother to train him. At the palace, the empress will not be able to accept her son. She feels ill again. She runs away and screams that this is a lie. The youth begins to cry. His mother hates him. The young man sits outside and cannot stop crying. What is happening is too much for him. He wonders what the knight thinks about this. She doesn't know how his mother treats her son. It's good that straightforwardness is in her blood. After that day, the prince began to sometimes ask the knight's insignificant opinion. Taking the advice, the young man gradually began to change. Rumors began to spread in the palace that he had stopped skipping classes. People began to come to Ciri for advice on upbringing. 2 weeks had passed since his appointment. The empress thanks you for your help. Thanks to your efforts, your behavior has improved a lot lately. You are overpraising me. I have nothing to do with it. Appointing a knight of such high rank as a personal guard is nothing short of wasteful. Ivan asks not to do this, but no one listens to him. After the conversation, the prince sits dejectedly. The blonde asks if he knows how to ride a horse. He doesn't know how, which means that training will begin. The boy will not hurt to get some fresh air and unwind. No matter how the child behaves, the mother is detached from him. The behavior does not resemble any measures or actions, but she does not look as if she has completely abandoned him. There is something else hidden behind this. Veramud speaks with his elder brother. Tensions between the emperor and the heir are growing. A personal detachment will be founded immediately. A large number of members of the royal guard have been transferred to one side or the other, so there are only a few people left. We need to finish this. As a brother, he worries about Lunatil. It becomes more dangerous to remain the commander of the first guard. Despite his closeness with Sirios, Take care of your safety. Recently, the first prince said that he was unable to contact Rudinol, and he had a bad feeling inside. If a search operation was to be organized, Veramudu should refuse. There is no point in getting into trouble. These are empty worries. Before, my brother was worried in vain and said that he would not become the commander of the first detachment. A sudden interrogation begins about whether the Lady of the Heart has appeared. If there is no person for whom there are pleasant feelings, then they will specially select a candidate. In the past, Lunatil was always flighty. Veramud jumps out of the office. He has a lady love, but he won't tell. The conversation turned to marriage. For some reason, Ciri's face appears without eyes. Still, we need to think about other things, which are much more important. Ochschwerder will not allow political purges to not begin. Half of the knights of the First Order have gone there. The remaining part will not be able to defend itself for long, the brother gave advice. But as a commander, the young man cannot change anything. He has no right to retreat. A few days later, Fentia arrived to see the prince and returned to the capital without any publicity. It was obvious that he had some bad news. Otherwise, he wouldn't have come all this way. We need to urgently go and look for Rudinol. Contact with him was lost when he was passing through the lands of Talon. Adeline reported that an avalanche had occurred there a few days ago. Information was received that the Viscount was showing the prince the way. It seems the man is hiding something. There are connections with the Western territories in the north, so this is trustworthy. The Emperor must not know that Irios is aware of everything. Even if he has to officially launch a search party, he will do everything to interfere. That time with the monster? The master sat idly by until he achieved the desired result. Lunatil must set out on a northern quest alone to find Rudinol. Irios trusts him, and Fiencia intervenes. It would be foolish to send his greatest power, which he could lose. He recalls his brother's words, but Veramud cannot betray absolute trust. The Marquis does not quite understand why the ruler is targeting Prince Rudinol. He is the closest person to His Highness, but the prince never aimed for political heights. It would be more advantageous to target someone else. The boy will not become a deterrent. The gentleman is trying to distance his charges, or is trying to divert attention from the process of forming the guard. There are a couple of suspicious individuals. Something needs to be done about this. I don't want everything to collapse. Something strange is happening at the First Guard headquarters. It seems the captain has Western flu. His subordinate is going crazy. The disease has a long incubation period. The girl still doesn't believe it, but she agrees to go on vacation since she talked with Veramud. First, she will go to the prince, just in time to deliver the decree. They are going to remove the guard from the boy. Sigrid will be able to concentrate on her own affairs, but she is a little sorry. The blue-eyed man meets the lady and says that the professor praised her for completing her homework. Virgo explains the situation. If she suddenly develops symptoms of illness, she may get sick. They will not be able to see each other for some time, and Dara will be assigned as security. They allowed me to leave my post, but that's just it. Sometimes the lady won't have any business, and she'll come to the castle. She promises that she'll definitely return again. Lately, when the girl left work, Veramud would say goodbye to her. It was unusual to be without him. The guy always showed concern, but with his contagious disease, visiting a sick person is stupid. The decision was made. The heroine was, of course, not allowed in. She nods, asking to pass on a small gift. Tell her that his friend Sigrid stopped by. The lady is immediately let in. She is given special treatment. The young man comes down and immediately starts to hug her. He has a secret mission, and his condition is an excuse. He says that he is investigating the disappearance of the second prince. Since he is going alone, and Kurtna wants to go together, she is refused. But the lady remains persistent. It is better to postpone the trip until the morning. I need to get ready. Blue Eyes reminds him that this isn't a guard's mission and that he won't be able to get a reward. He doesn't want to drag his friend into trouble, but she doesn't consider it a problem since she likes Veramud. I don't want the knight to have problems, the brunette asks how it happened that the lady likes him. She herself doesn't know. She began to feel different feelings. Because the first meeting was strange, she felt uncomfortable at first, but then, because of the friendship, other feelings began to emerge, and a desire to rely. Then it became clear that Veramud was his best friend. Of course, it finished him off, but he had to get ready. They would meet for the mission at 2 in the morning at the last lantern in the 3rd district. I hoped it wouldn't be dangerous. At night, they meet and set off on a journey. Ciri's hair catches the eye, and the young man closed his eye. He also attracts attention. You can't talk politely. It will arouse suspicion. The heroine eats the sausage that Veramud hands her. She cares about her health. Before she ate only potatoes and bread. She becomes sad when she remembers the past. She shouldn't have lived like that. It seemed as if an ascetic life was an indicator of chivalry. But in fact, this real life was nothing more than an invention of aristocrats who looked down on warriors. At that time, Ankurtna only knew how to follow orders and did not know how to make decisions on her own. She was lucky to escape from a terrible life, sometimes difficult, but the changes were favorable. The man is happy that Sigrid decided to go on a mission with him. He lowers his head on his shoulder. Inside, there is a trembling feeling that seemed to come out of nowhere. Soon the first stop happens. Tomorrow is another long drive, so they go to a hotel. In the West, the room was better. There is not even a bed in the room, only a semblance of a mattress. The heater does not warm at all. The best solution would be to sleep together. It's warm nearby, and there's only one mattress anyway, so there's no choice. I want to ask if the lady will be comfortable. She attacks with her puppy dog eyes, and she herself does not understand what she did wrong. In the end, the man decides to sleep under the door. The situation resembles a love affair. The knight sleeps peacefully, without fear. Ciri is so calm because she does not see him as a man. The state of agitation came from just one phrase. Only Veramud is a fool. In the tower, Arcana is screaming. He doesn't want to just wait for something. The master decides to tell a story. There is a special group of wizards wandering outside. Mages and Oro users have similarities in strength. Some, faced with the power of the stone, wanted to take possession of the same. They created a plan. The elder stopped them. However, a small part of those involved escaped from the tower. Apparently, those people still have followers. No one knows what they are doing. The elders are afraid that the Arcana will fall into their hands. A man expresses anger. If he doesn't try to act outside his domain, nothing will come of it. They avoid responsibility and hide in their comfort zone. While everyone sits idly by, vacationers can attack out of nowhere, and nothing can be done about it if an attempt to defend oneself fails and protective magic erupts. A memorandum appears. Apparently, the elders were thinking about not appointing Archon until he changed his mind about leaving the tower. Otherwise, the man would have killed someone. The woman channeled her power in a different direction. If the young man agreed to the memorandum, the seal would be temporarily removed, and he would be able to go outside. The decision was difficult. Breaking the agreement meant losing his magic forever. Whatever the contents of the paper, the hero is ready to sign everything. All because the one he promised to protect is outside, and a promise cannot be broken. In the second squad, there's a discussion about Sigrid's illness. 2 carriers of Oro have fallen ill with the problem. It's highly contagious. The girl has left the city for treatment, and Lunatil has forbidden anyone from visiting. There must be a reason why no one said anything earlier. Alkerto and Maurice better worry about other problems. They have an exam coming up. Marie holds out a handkerchief. She gives it as a sign of support. The red-haired man smiles and sincerely thanks. I will use it. Forrest will be given a gift after the exam. No one doubts his abilities. Words of support are enough for him. His friend begins to resent the fact that no one believes in him. Rohengrin is asked if she has a place in mind. The Western fever is strange. It seems that Lunatil and Ankurtna are both busy with something. Besides this, rumors have been spreading. Prince Rudinol is missing. This is not exact information, but if you put 2 and 2 together, you get a pretty clear picture. It would have been great if Ankurtna had told her about her mission, but she decided not to tell anyone, hiding behind some kind of flu. Maurice is not in the mood, but he cannot fail the exam for this reason. Besides, everyone around him is rooting for him, and Rovi herself wants him to get a decent result. The journey continues. They will sleep under the open sky. The sleigh and horse will have to be left behind. The girl again asks if she wants to go with Veramud. The search will be faster and safer together. I would just like to go on a trip. The lady has never traveled anywhere. Only once went to distant lands after leaving the almshouse. She grew up in the circus. There she managed to learn the sword. The life of a maiden did not seem particularly sad to her, but Lunatil did not agree with how the matter would be completed. They would go not only on a date, but also on a journey. After an avalanche near the mountain they had almost reached, contact with the prince was lost. But there was no avalanche. Ahead were the tracks of a cart and an overturned carriage. Inside lie the corpses of servants, and next to them is the corpse of a horse, its neck precisely cut with a single blow of a knife. Either the Oro carriers are involved, or this is no ordinary mercenary. They went to investigate the area. The whole day passed, and in the end, no new tracks were found. A lot of time had passed since the attack, and the tracks were covered with snow. It is not clear whether the prince is okay, or if anything has happened to him. Lunatil believes that they need to continue the search, because while they are resting, the boy's fate may well be decided. The girl knows nothing about Rudinol. In the past, he and she were accused of attempted murder. It is known that His Majesty hurt the crown prince, his former empress. Words about ignorance are empty. Her friend told her everything, of course, about an existence that no one knows about. The current ruler was chained at the age of 10. His mother ruled in his place. During her reign, none of the aristocrats paid attention to the boy, and the ruler herself was not particularly concerned about him. Previously, there was no sense of power, but everything has changed. The emperor has all the power concentrated in his hands. Having married at 16, the master immediately received an heir. Gradually, he took away all the power from his mother. The problem is that, having returned the power that rightfully belonged to him, he gained even more power, which led to the murder of his son, because he was afraid that the throne would be stolen. As a result of those events, the health of the first empress began to deteriorate. After giving birth to Rudinol, she died. After the birth, no doctors came to see her. The master deliberately did not send help. Sigrid feels stupid. Not knowing anything, she chose such a person as her master. His Majesty gave orders to kill palace figures. He did not think what would happen to the empire if all the talented people were killed. The emperor only wanted power. Rudinol most likely fell into a trap set by the master. With the disappearance of the boy, they are trying to weaken the authority of the crown prince. Vermud has an older brother. The lady is interested in whether the young man will be able to provide protection. Her close friend has a bad relationship with his brother due to problems with the inheritance. The Duke is good, he always takes care of him. The art of fencing became an exception, and as a result, the man became the bearer of Oro. Lunatil was even happier than Vermud at the time, having managed to find his calling. The sword in his hands creates the feeling that all the problems are not important at all. He and Sigrid are similar. She experiences the same feelings, it is nice to realize. Since the two began to spend more time together, they do not know much about each other. They would like to become close. They constantly think about the past. They would like to become friends, and then, on the second day of searching, they managed to find another body, wearing the uniform of a royal guard. The more traces appeared, the less Lunatil smiled. The sword is broken into even pieces. The same story as with the horse. The problem is definitely with the Oro carrier. All of the guards can be dismissed because they remained in the castle. The two continue to follow the prince's tracks. Only blood is visible, but there are no traces of the pursuer. There is a bridge ahead. It has been crossed. The ropes do not look damaged. Rudinol's distinct cries are heard. Lunatil rushes forward without thinking. He fights the strangers, aiming for the neck, misses. The sword seems to be cutting through the air. Ciri realizes that he has no head. The armor is empty inside. It is cut into two parts. The prince says that it is fine, but everyone else has long since died. If they had assigned guards at the request of the heir, this would not have happened. Ankurtna is considering taking a piece of the armor for evidence. She is interested in what it is made of. The stranger is growing together, moving even when crushed. Vermud manages to protect the lady, takes the blow on himself. The wound begins to bleed. It didn't cut off completely, but it reached the bone. Part of the body will have to be amputated. The knight regenerates time after time, and the words come to mind that the goal is to save the prince, not to win. Meaning, it's not that important. Sigrid is obliged to protect the boy. Approaching His Highness, the lady allows Lunatil to remain in the battle to delay. For some reason, even in this situation, the man thinks that the girl confessed that she really likes him. It was dishonest. It sounded like a declaration of love. It doesn't matter if the stranger is immortal or recovers quickly. He will make sure there is no chance for recovery. Veramud did everything, but there was no strength left. He fell into the snow. There was only blood around. The young man gave the order to leave him. Ciri returned back because Rudinol asked to bring the knight to him. Ciri carries the young man on her back. He asks to cut off his injured arm, but she refuses him. It may heal, although the brunette is sure that it will die anyway. On the other side of the bridge stands the prince. He knew that the knight would survive. It was strange that he was not badly hurt, although the enemy was so excellent in his swordsmanship that even the owners of the Oro could hardly defeat him. The young man whispers something. Judging by his lips, he wishes for Veramud to die. Rushing forward, the boy cuts the ropes of the bridge so that they fall down. As they walked away from the knight, she was asked if he could survive alone. He has the best skills, so he would survive. Then he asked to be brought to them. The master asks to surround the body with an aura, because if they fall down from such a height, Lunatil's body will be crushed by its own weight. The lady tries, but it's all in vain. Too much strength has been spent on the battle. She thinks that this is the end. When suddenly, magic lifts them up. Arcana appears out of nowhere and helps. Rushing to him, the first thing the girl begs is to heal her partner. Of course, he will fulfill the wish. If my knight asks for something, I will do it. The body was patched up. Ankertna hugs Veramud. It was impossible to contain the endless flow of emotions. She was very worried about the young man's well-being, but he assured her that it was all over, which meant that everything would be fine. The maiden asks the magician how he ended up in this place. After leaving the ice tower, he went home and heard that his friend had fallen ill and gone for treatment, so he had to use a teleport. If the wizard had delayed even a little, he would have seen a terrifying sight. Climbing out, Arcana finds a stone that fell out of the sword. The Oro core was cut out and inserted inside, and energy from the sword spread to the armor. The person controlling all this was somewhere nearby. The probability of magic is high if a wizard is behind it. He does not necessarily have to be nearby. He can observe through the crystal. The red-haired one can guess where to go to find the owner. If the bearer of Oro disappears, rumors will spread immediately. I don't want to leave the prince alone, but with him, things aren't so simple. The heroine is going to tell something. First, they move to another place, namely to the capital, to the house of Veramud. The maids keep secrets well. No one will know anything about them. Arcana's head is spinning. He just used too much magic. He'll rest and everything will be much better. For starters, Ciri and Lunatil are going to wash up quickly. The maiden was not wounded at all, only very tired. The friend was still not a real magician. His appointment was delayed. The council was against leaving the tower, but they set conditions and removed the seal. Even without an official appointment, the young man will still be a personal mage, says Veramud. It's time to have an important conversation and sort everything out. The girl reveals her cards. She returned from the future, which will happen in 5 years. Having lived to 25, the heroine returned back, and before she died, she was a knight subordinate to the emperor. They were enemies with Lunatil. Much was different in the past. Then it was taken out furiously, and the head was cut off in front of everyone. Until her death, the lady did not understand what she did wrong. In her new life, the beauty decided to live her time better. Gradually, the girl began to change everything. It seemed that she needed to tell everyone close to her about the reality, but she couldn't, because she was afraid that they would be disgusted. Arcana supports her friend. He is happy that she was able to tell everything. It is difficult to comprehend what is happening, but not everything is so bad. Initially, it seemed that time travel was impossible. But Ciri's story gave rise to the assumption that Oro magic was involved. The knights have a core, and the mages have a heart circle. It cannot be seen or touched by the human eye. The magic core has similar properties. The use of magic in huge quantities is, of course, just a dream. In the past, someone learned how to overcome obstacles and absorb the core. They tried to repeat the plot in the ice tower but failed. There are rumors that a gang of magicians is still roaming, and the reason why Arcanu was not released is because of them. In exchange for the opportunity to work outside, he must not get caught and find traces of the apostates. Previously, he studied old scrolls. The apostates had conspired with people in power and organized a hunt for the Oro. What was found in the sword belongs to no one, meaning it came from a hunt victim in the past. It is unclear whether Rudinol really betrayed his brother. Magicians are forbidden to interfere in the affairs of the emperor's family. Most likely, the apostates attacked Ciri and Veramud to take their stones. They should rest and think about everything the next day and decide what to do next. The question arose, who was the wizard who sent Sigrid back 5 years ago? The girl's core was full of ancient energy. This person's goals make one doubt. Whatever it was, there is no need to worry. These are all problems of the Ice Tower. What's important is that changes came with Ciri. Saria was saved. Veramud considers himself lucky. He was going to his death for the one he seemed to love. And in the end, he was saved and all his wounds were patched up. The young man was about to go to bed when someone disturbed him by touching his hair. It turned out to be Sigrid. She didn't understand the reaction. Am I disgusting to you? After she told about her past, then, Veramud hated her. She is afraid that after the story, he will become exactly the same. Despite this, she does not want to experience the hatred of a loved one. Putting his palm to his cheek, the brunette reminds her that he is okay thanks to her. When the heroine told her story, the knight's expression was displeased. He can't tell that Arcana is constantly catching his eye, always coming to console her friend before him, pretending to be kind and being a savior. I was just impressed by your story. Of course, he doesn't consider Ciri to be to blame. In the present, what happened hasn't happened yet. The girl decided that in her new life, everything will change, and that it will be much better. In the present time, the beauty saved a princess and her unborn son. If Ariel had died during the attack, the prince would not have found allies from the west. The future changes in reality. Never before has the master had to go through all the responsibility that lies with a knight. In any case, he will not hate her. Ciri cannot help but smile. The young man wants to say something important. He reaches closer and sharply pinches my cheek. No matter what, you can't burst into someone else's room and scare someone. In fact, he's just joking. I wanted to say that I really like you. The next day, the gentleman went to the prince. He was sorry that something terrible had happened, but he was glad that he had managed to return alive. Gratitude to the magician would be expressed, but only through Sigrid. Sirius assumed that they were in a relationship. The subordinate shouts that this is not so, because he has feelings for the girl. Knowing his reputation, the friend is surprised, because before it was always someone for one night. The Duke arrived. He rushes to his brother to check if he is okay. There was still some benefit to the dangerous mission. Rudinol had betrayed them. Ochschwitz was digging around everywhere. They could take advantage of their carelessness at any moment, and they could mobilize 1,000 people from the lands of Lunatil. Western troops need a reason to help, even if an alliance is concluded. During a journey, I met a magician. It wouldn't hurt to take him as an ally, but I need to find out everything. Brother, hearing that everything must be done through Ciri, Veramud's beloved cannot leave him alone. He jokes about how Sirios was told everything first. Now I feel sad. It would be great if the hero had no problems sharing important things with a loved one. Henceforth, there is no point in putting one's life in danger, even if it is for the sake of the crown prince. It's good that Veramud knows about everything and will try to be careful. Of course he says so. But it is well known that at any convenient moment, the young man will rush forward and will not spare himself. Ciri asks if it is possible to introduce Arcana to the prince. The magician agrees only if the knight does it. Lunatil is again angry that the boy is acting extremely friendly. The hero agrees to go to the castle, but first, he should return to Saria to calm her down. The brunette will lead the magician out, but only through the backyard, because the main gate is right in front of everyone. I'd like to know if it's possible to teleport to my sister's house, but I can't quite use the ability, and it's time to leave so I don't have to linger any longer. Before going through the door, the mage asks what the reaction will be if, in exchange for healing the knight's hand and eye, they ask him to take his hands off Ciri. They will not take back the healing since the girl herself asked for it. The wizard will watch the young man closely, because he does not want him to harm Enkurtna. He swore to give her his soul, even if it was to himself, but he will strictly follow what he intends to do. Saria meets her brother. She asks if everything is all right. There was no news from him or from the lady. She prepared food to give to her while the magician was away. The girl learned to cook new dishes. Cutting off a piece of pie, the redhead says in surprise that it is delicious. Her skills have improved noticeably. She has achieved a lot in 6 months. The work was taken from the cookbook that the knight gave her. When the assistant first made the dessert, Sigrid praised it, so she wanted her brother to try it too. If it weren't for the knight's help, Saria wouldn't have even dreamed of cooking. She's glad that everything turned out as well as possible. The girl will work hard and one day become a cook. If it weren't for her friend, she wouldn't be smiling so happily. Arcana returns to the estate. Her sister gave her some things, told the blonde to ask for everything else she needs through the magician. It's a pity she had to lie about the flu. It's wrong. The boy's parents were peasants, originally serfs, but they managed to escape. They forced their children to remain silent, since escape was considered a crime. In the end, they were caught. The owner, like the count who kidnapped Saria, was trash. Considering people as toys, he smiled with pleasure until the bodies of his parents burned to the ground in the house. Then it was decided to become stronger in order to protect his sister. The young man stood at the gate of the tower all night, even after refusal. Then, one man finally listened to the boy and promised to become a teacher, the condition being that he renounce revenge. It was difficult, but protection was much more important. He would be grateful to Ciri for saving the girl. If the knight hadn't appeared, the magician would have lost everything long ago and gone mad from it. But she saved his future by taking responsibility. And he is delighted that Ankurtna doesn't think so and assures him that she did nothing wrong. The young man will give away his entire future. He wants to be there and help in return. She thanks him in return. If not for Arcana, she and Veramud would have died. The girl suggests going to the childhood home and capturing Saria. You can try to build a grave for their parents. Perhaps new houses have already been built there. It's worth checking. Having exchanged dark secrets, the two have become much closer. Veramud enters the room. He heard everything and is extremely displeased. The lady is interested in how long she will remain in someone else's estate, most likely until Rudinol is convinced of death and returns to the castle. I will discuss this with the prince. The girl avoids her friend's gaze as if she is uncomfortable. She states that this is not the case. Arcana, as if by chance, asks to leave because they have not finished talking. He snorts and leaves. I wonder what's going on with Ciri. She really felt awkward. She doesn't know what's happening to her. I'd like to understand so as not to ruin everything around her. The boys are heading to the castle. It's gotten warmer in the capital. The snow has melted everywhere, so walking is quite difficult. Veramud notes that this is all due to the lack of sports. Fiencia asks who came with them. A magician stands before him, which is unusual, because in the Ice Tower, everyone tries to avoid any connection with politics. Reginald introduces himself. It's time to talk to the prince. Arcana enters first and greets those gathered. Rabis, Veramud's older brother, is also there. Recognizing Ciri, the brunette immediately begins to smile stupidly. The young man asks to leave her alone. It's time to get down to business. In front of them is a piece of armor. A knight is trying to correctly explain what happened when they were fighting. They were confronted by simple armor, but with a spell cast on it, the power to control it belonged to the orco. It was taken from the master and belongs to someone outside the empire or was stolen in the past. Those the young man is thinking about had a hand in this. They have a motive, and they could have conspired with the emperor to steal Lunatil's core. It seems that the rumors about Rudinol's disappearance were a bait. His Majesty set it up. Only he can control the boy. Most likely the magicians and the master want something else. The ruler's power and desire for power have no limits. Wizards all want the same thing in one way or another. They want to achieve immortality. The price for this is not small at all, and theoretically, it is possible to bring this to life. In order for the emperor to live forever, he must sacrifice others. Lately, there has been a rumor that they want to use the army to clear the streets of the poor. Before this, all attempts ended in failure. The answer is rebels. Under the pretext of hiding, they will search poor neighborhoods and put pressure on them. Those who do not leave on time will be considered traitors. This time, Ankurtna will thwart the conspiracy. What happened to Rudinol is what will ultimately be used as one of the tricks. Everything will be blamed on the Western rebels, while in the center it will be accepted without suspicion at face value. and the role of the one who will expose his brother's plan will be assigned to the younger one. The time has come to decide what punishment the boy will bear. The prince is hesitant, even though he has effectively committed treason and driven the knight into a deadly trap. He will still have to choose. If the king really did contact the wizards for eternal life, we need to find evidence of this. Then it will be possible to refute the legitimacy due to mental instability. The best way would be to set up some sort of magic circle on a poor street to suck the life force out of people. That's exactly what they'll do to steal people's lives. Arcana will recognize magic if someone brings him something. After the conversation, the prince thanks the ice tower for its help. This is personal assistance. After ascending to the throne, the young man will improve relations with the magicians, making everything in the best possible way. It is clear who will become the new ruler. The man does not like this, but the tower should not stand aside forever. The young man turns to Ankurtna. He asks her to join the closed guard. She needs to become a spy to find some evidence there. Veramud is against it. It could be dangerous, and working as a double agent is not at all suitable. Sigrid agrees. She will do everything to help. Even if it is dangerous, she will do anything to stop the Emperor and his evil plans. If anything happens, the maiden will tell you right away. The punishment for Rudinol has not yet been chosen. I would like to talk to him personally. The prince cannot get his feelings involved anymore. Lunatil understands at a glance. He will bring the young man and listen to him. In any case, he needs to find out the behind-the-scenes affairs. The brunette is sure that he will succeed. The prince thinks that I am dead and will not be on guard. The Arcana will be used as a backup. The knight is obviously against it, but he has to squeeze out words of consent. The young man reaches for the lady's cheek. When she says that she is worried, he is brushed off again. The prince feels a little sorry for his subordinate, so he offers the magician to go out to learn something about magic. Ciri follows. Coming closer, the knight asks directly, "Are you uncomfortable with me?" It became noticeable that the girl shies away from every touch. I want to find the words to explain the whole situation as best as possible, but nothing works. The strangeness does not appear for no reason. When the heroine feels touches, she understands that her heart is beating wildly. There is a smile on the young man's face. He tried to restrain himself. This is no longer necessary. He likes Ciri, and not just likes her, because it's more like falling in love. The girl freezes with a surprised expression on her face. She doesn't know what to answer. While retreating, the beauty accidentally touches Veramud. They fall, and she falls right on him. It seemed that the young man gave too many hints about his feelings. I didn't know anything at all. Forgive me. An offer comes in to meet for a while to understand each other better. The girl doesn't know whether she should agree because Veramud is her closest friend. 3 months is the time frame, and then she can refuse. Deciding there was no point in refusing, the knight nods. People in relationships do a lot of things together. They will have time to figure out what they will do. For now, the only thing Lunatil asks for is to be loved. Ciri believes that she will succeed before leaving. She is warned about the Emperor. He is a stern man. There is no point in dissuading him from the mission, but as soon as it becomes dangerous, it is better to immediately stop this task. Coming out to the prince and Arcana, the maiden says that she is going to leave. They will see each other again soon. For now, Sirios remains alone. Veramud's expression is simply funny. It turns out that he and Ankurtna started dating. He finally took the initiative into his own hands. The prince is escorted to headquarters. It is dangerous for him to walk alone, but it will be even more dangerous if the knight is noticed. There is no place more dangerous than the palace. There is no way to escape. The situation with Rudinol is ambiguous. They wanted to kill Lunatil, but regarding Sirios, it's unclear. The young man tried to be a good older brother, but they responded with betrayal. The gentleman thinks too much. He had better go to the castle to his wife. He cannot be left alone, so that the decadent mood does not have a single chance to win. Siriosa meets Ariel, a sad young man who wants to become a strong support for his family. He feels like he has failed in his mission to become a good brother, and the woman doesn't agree. For her, he has already become a husband, on whom she can always rely. Suddenly, the girl begins to scream. Her stomach suddenly hurts. It seems that labor is starting, and these are the first contractions. Time drags on endlessly slowly. The young man was kicked out so that he wouldn't interfere. Finally, it's all over. The princess is sitting on the bed with the baby. Come and look at him. The baby looks like his father, even in his facial expression. Never before had the maid seen a child with such beautiful eyes. She will become a beautiful princess. The young man cannot contain his joy. This is perhaps one of the happiest days of his life. The imperial capital is filled with the atmosphere of celebration in honor of the birth of the emperor's granddaughter. Ciri meets with her friends and is scolded for leaving for a sanatorium without warning anyone. The heart bleeds. There is no choice to lie to loved ones. A promise was made to keep everything secret. So all that remains is to shrug. The girl is hiding something connected to Lunatil. Upon learning that the knight had begun dating the duke, Marie cried out for them to be told all the details. They were in a trial relationship, and they would be able to learn more interesting information in the process. The young man said that he loves Ankurtna, but these may be just words. He has a lot of experience in relationships. The girl is not sure that she loves him too. She needs to sort out her feelings. The blonde forgets to tell one more piece of news. She will leave the guard to join Auschwitz. Then she will be able to meet her friends. Maurice and Alcerto are already there. They passed the exam, but the emperor contacted them. It is much more prestigious. It turns out that they, too, can be involved in the plan to cleanse the poor from the streets. Ciri doesn't look very well. She's noticeably pale. She waves her hand, assuring me that she'll be fine. She's just a little dizzy. In the new squad, it is better to keep the relationship with Lunatil a secret. There is no one who does not know that he is the prince's right hand. Closeness with the captain could cause disagreements with His Majesty. Once in Auschwitz, it will be necessary to begin implementing part of the plan. It is better to avoid even the slightest cause for suspicion. The girl promises to remain silent. Rovengrin reflects. Immediately after the quarantine, her friend decided to transfer to the guards. She has too many doubts and thoughts inside. The situation will only get more complicated. Marie notices that she and her friend have become closer. She even promised to ask about visiting the aerial salon. They hadn't discussed this before, which is great news. Just a few months ago, they hated each other. The situation has improved so much that they are drawn to each other. Such a friendship cannot but admire. It is pleasant to understand. Rovi is also worried about Sigrid. Even if she doesn't like to have her head filled with anything, she nods and smiles. I am also drawn to her. Since Ankurtna has touched the Marquise's heart, she is truly impressive. On the way home, the lady wants to stop somewhere. Ingold had better go home. For a dear friend, the girl promises to do something, will keep her plans a secret until she manages to make it all come true. A bride came to the house of Marquis Edon. The beauty could visit Catien without any reason. It seemed to him that the meeting would nevertheless take place on business. In general, he knows his future wife well. She wanted to ask a question about Auschwitz, wondering if the nobility objected to the creation of the emperor's personal guard. His Majesty did everything by force. Although no movements were noticed, there will be a purge of the nobility. Knowing the character of the ruler, he will do so. Even on the centrists, the pressure will be great. It would be better to be wary of the squad. Rovi's friend wants to go there. It seemed like a not very sound idea. Sigrid is a well-known person who makes mistakes. It's unexpected that the girl gets involved in politics for the sake of a friend. This is very unlike her. She usually keeps her distance. The brunette understands, but doesn't want to sit on the sidelines. The knight came to the emperor. She had only recently recovered from illness. She accepted the invitation to join the guard. There was silence. The man nods and asks to raise his head. If such a valuable employee expresses a desire to join Auschwitz, of course she will be accepted without any doubt. The woman thanks. Alida will tell him about his duties and give him instructions. The name is familiar. The young man didn't think that a girl would also be in the squad, but it's better than following the third prince around. The girl knows how to prioritize the parties. She should throw away her first guard uniform. They'll give her a personal uniform. Since she's an Oro master, she'll have a chance to immediately become a squad leader. Since Alida is already a captain, he should be treated with respect. They go into the living room, where they meet with Alcerto and Maurice. DeForest is allowed to instruct Ankurtni, and the heroine congratulates the duo on their appointment to the personal guard. The lady didn't even pretend to be surprised. Alcerto is proud that he went straight from the 2nd Knightly Corps to the personal guard. and he is tormented by the feeling that, while it's good to lie, it's still impossible to tell the truth. While no orders are coming in, the heroine will go change and visit the prince. A meeting is planned, and there is no work, so there is no prohibition on this. Next time, it's worth telling the truth. Telling where the girl is going on vacation. They knew that some kind of flu had appeared, but they didn't understand where to look for the lady. When it's all over, she'll definitely tell the story. She'll be honest. I don't want to leave any more secrets. That's wrong. When they met, Maurice wanted to confess his love, but he had already changed his mind. He didn't know what would be the right thing to do, because if he was refused, it would be unlikely that they could continue to be friends. I'll pluck up my courage. The uniform didn't fit at all. It was too big. It would have to be hemmed. Sigrid was dating the prince while she was away. The boy studied hard, showing that he wanted to become better. While he has free time, the young man asks to teach him fencing. It would be better to find someone more experienced. The boy resists and continues to ask to teach him at least the basics. There is no choice. He does not want to refuse. The training begins. It is incredibly tough. It all ends in the evening. Having completely lost all his strength, the prince crawls back to the castle, and next time, he asks again to conduct a lesson. Near the exit, Maurice and Alcerto meet. They want to have a drink together. Agreeing, the lady heads to the bar. A friend knows all the best places. The girl can't drink anything too strong, so she chooses sweeter drinks. After a while, they ask her if she's dating anyone. Knowing Ciri, she's single, and she's shocked by the news that she's in a relationship. Rohengrin said not to tell anyone. She asks to keep everything a secret. In Ankerton's relationship with Veramud, they are dating for a test. He confessed his love and offered this option for 3 months. Whether she got into trouble or not, the final decision will be made in time. Maurice suggests ending the gathering here. It's time to get ready. The knight needs help, because she can barely stand on her feet. Forrest will see his friend off, and Alcerto says goodbye to them and leaves. It's not at all clear why he's being escorted away from his home. It's not very convenient. It's clear that he's in a bad mood. I'd like to ask a few questions. The young man's brother was the first to contact him and offer him dinner. Even when the hunt was open, he secretly helped. The girl is worried about her friend, so she shows it. The good news is that since love is contractual, it definitely won't last long. The more he falls in love, the more naive Forrest becomes. The man imagines that he could ask to break up with Lunatil, because he is an important person, and therefore, logically, they should listen to him. Ankertna is distracted from his thoughts. They reach her house, but he doesn't plan to stay there, so he carefully says goodbye and says goodnight. The expression on his face was as if the young man wanted to say something, but did not dare. It was better for the knight not to think about this, because in the end, she had problems much more important than the one that presented itself. In the morning, the two set out to search for Rudinol. It was still winter in the north, and thanks to Arcana's magic, they would shorten the journey, but even that didn't suit Lunatil. The location seems to have been discovered, all thanks to the prince's blood. The closer they are to the owner, the stronger the reaction. They go to the village. 2 people are hanging over the house, which everything points to. Besides the young man and his inspectors, there is another group there, most likely magicians. Veramud wants to go alone. Only Arcana will ensure him. Magic flashes before everyone's eyes in the room, making them lose sight. In an instant, the knight deals blows. The boy sees them and screams, "I killed you!" An interrogation is conducted. Rudinol is convinced that the prince is going to kill the entire family and has teamed up with dark magicians. It seems that he was brainwashed from childhood, ordered to play the role of a spy. Even the death of the former crown prince and empress, in his opinion, was the work of Sirios. But he was still little then. The punishment will be discussed when he is brought to the capital. Even if he is the emperor's victim, his sins cannot be hidden. Arcanum advises him to do everything on the spot, but Lunatil refuses, even if he was almost killed. The prince needs to be given some time to think. The mage reminds him that Ciri almost died too. The mood changes. The captain will punish Rudinol before sending him to the castle. The woman is, in a sense, glad that she has become a captain. It will be easier to gather information. She will be able to behave more naturally and not arouse suspicion. Everyone in the squad is constantly without any orders, doing nothing for days on end, with a feeling of uselessness inside, even though they are paid enough money. With such a salary, one can still move and buy a lot of other things. So Alcerto is happy. There is panic inside. The emperor has been overthrown. But what will happen to the detachment? Sigrid plans to visit the prince again. There is nothing to do anyway. The guys will go with her. But if he doesn't like the presence of strangers, they will leave immediately. Seeing the guys, the boy started to get hysterical, asking the woman not to leave. They were colleagues. They wanted to visit the young man, since they had nothing better to do. It turns out that the lady also joined Auschwitz. Her expression darkened, but she will not talk about her worries. All this time he was training according to the plan that was drawn up. The young man runs off to class and then returns to show everyone everything later. They begin with training in wielding a sword made of a light material. It is suitable in weight. Regardless of the material, the weapon still needs to be held firmly. When asking Ciri's friends if they are masters, the prince snorts. Although they are very talented, Alcerto is asked to fight. The duel begins. The red-haired one provokes him, saying that he hits too weakly. He skillfully turns away so that the sword does not hit. Even though the boy sees it as a game, it's clear that his skills have improved, all thanks to Ciri, although she thinks all the effort is his own. Evening comes, they are going to have dinner together. At the last moment, the knight declares that she has one more thing to do. She needs to go somewhere, this time not to Lunatil. They hadn't seen the crown princess for a long time. The girl spent time with the prince, and he relied on her, probably because he was given a lot of attention. The empress hates the knight for this. The problem is, with the emperor, he perceives his son as an enemy. Such a father needs the boy not to have a single person on his side, so that he is weak. It turns out that mother neglects Ivan in order to make him incapable of protecting him. Such methods Ariel cannot approve of because she causes pain. If a young man grows up to be big, he will be able to acquire the appropriate strength. But at the same time, small prey, even if it lacks strength, may not catch the eye and not get into trouble. The lady values her son, although she does not show it outwardly. Ariel also wants to meet Ivan once. She wants to build a friendly relationship with him, but in secret. Sigrid is offered to meet the newborn baby. The woman was considering giving her the knight's name, but since this bothers her, she will choose other candidates. The princess asks you to look after her child so that she grows up safe. I don't trust anyone in this matter as much as you. Saria meets the lady. They need to talk. But instead, the girl sits her down at a table with a variety of food. There is enough of everything, and everything is unusually tasty. It is amazing. The assistant has put a lot of effort into the main course. She wants more accurate assessments. The limit of studying the book has been reached. So the beauty wrote a letter to the author himself. The man liked the young chef's way of thinking, and in his last message, he offered to officially study cooking at his estate. Such news cannot but be wonderful. The girl asks to write a letter of recommendation on behalf of the Lunatil family. In fact, the author is the chef of that family, and she knows Veramud Ciri personally. Saria promises to talk to the Duke. She hugs and thanks him. Sometimes she remembers the day when she was saved. If not for the knight, she would not have been able to do what she loved. For the girl, both Arcana and his sister will be like family, and this will make the assistant even happier than before. The beauty promises that she won't tell anyone about the recommendation, especially the magician. After a few days, the prince's speed increased. He is training with Alcerto again. The boy reminds the young man of a younger brother, so it is nice to spend time together. Maurice doesn't quite know how to deal with children. Since he only has the eldest, Ciri is worried about her friend having problems with communication. This is one of the main components. Lowering his head, Forrest admits that he is not such a good person as he may seem. They talk until Veramud returns. Everything is fine. He is safe. Ciri promises that she will approach her friends later. The Duke notices that they are also in the guard. The young man hugs Ankertenna. The uniform of the first detachment suits her better. Looking down, the heroine nods. She thinks so too. He just returned from the north, but a pleasant aroma of gel emanates from his body. The girl realized it too late. No one should know that they were dating, since she would not be able to infiltrate the army if someone found out about it. The young man snorts, but understands that the lady will have a day off in 2 days. They will go on a date. Meeting outside the palace is quite possible. Earlier, the heroine promised that she could not refuse, so she has to agree. The Duke leaves, leaving her thinking about what to wear. Arriving home, the girl found an unpleasant picture. Arcana was angry. He was against his sister going to the house of aristocrats as a cook. But Siri approved of everything, even promised a letter of recommendation. The young man doesn't understand how anyone could come up with such a stupid plan. Syria also screams, her brother isn't the only smart person. She has the right to choose. Running out of the room, the redhead asks not to interfere in her affairs anymore. She will sort out her own decisions. Ankurtna doesn't understand the reason for the anger. He knows about his sister's love for cooking, but that's the only thing she can do at home, not go to some unknown aristocrat. There's no need to look after the little girl. The hero doesn't see it. Their story is sad. They used to live in danger. The knight advises to calm down and then talk without touching on the sore wound. Because Syria was saved from Oren, she, without wanting to, became a constant subject of gossip, most of whom scolded the count, but she also got it. The man is afraid that working in the mansion will allow rumors to spread again, although, speaking of fears, Lunatil, on the contrary, is not the most reliable person. They, together with the crown prince, are preparing for an uprising, and if they fail, everyone, even the workers, will be repressed. The maiden is confident that everything will work out. They cannot allow chaos and burning down the slums again. Arcana exhales and agrees. He hasn't given an answer yet about sending them to the estate. This only slightly reduces the likelihood of a massacre. He needs to hear what Lunatil has to say about the internal situation. The young man received compensation from the prince and can hire a master for his sister. He also wants her to study. Siri explains that all the time, the girl did nothing but cook for the knight's friends, and for them, approval from loved ones is, of course, important on a different level. The letter from the cook was of great importance. Syria felt recognized, and the invitation to the mansion was confirmation.